of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio on a Wednesday, the day before the NFL Draft 2025. We say hi. I'm Patrick Meagher, live from Los Angeles. The big guy, Dustin Swedelson, Las Vegas. Brandon Krikorian, New York City. Ryan Smith, Steady Ryan in Las Vegas. Controlling YouTube, you can find us there. YouTube.com/VSiN Live. Jump in the chat. We appreciate you. As we open it up, let's just set up the evening. Look, this is what makes betting fun. When you have terrible games, there's still something to be said, and that's where we sit tonight. The Magic at the Celtics, woof. The Magic are catching 10.5. The Celtics, Dustin, have you heard of Tatum? I don't think Tatum's going to play tonight.
He has been ruled out.
He's been ruled out. Okay, that's what we had suspected as far as that one. So you've seen that number come down a little bit with Boston laying 10.5. That's tipping off here in just a couple of minutes. Heat Cavaliers coming up at the bottom of the hour. Another woof, and the Cavs are laying 12.5. This is the product, people. When you've got doubles across the board in playoff games, you've got a discrepancy as far as teams, but that's where we stand. The next round should get a lot better. We do have some good series, and I'm about to present one. I think the Warriors-Rockets game 2 tonight is a fascinating game. Houston's laying 4.5. I believe that mirrors what they were laying. Maybe they were laying 3.5 in game 1, but it was an outright win from the Warriors. Obviously, the deficiencies with the Rockets is they can't score. And that's what, and Jalen Green's just not that good. That's what that comes down to. So those are the three on tap in the NBA. You've got 3 in the NHL as well. You got the Canadians and Caps. Canadians outmatched here in net. Across the board, Washington, 1-0 series lead. They're laying $1.80 tonight. That puck drops here in just a couple of minutes, so we'll get you set up there. The other two are late, 6:30 my time, 9:30 your time on the East Coast. Maybe the best of the first round. Two teams that have been awesome for years, the Stars and the Avs. So Dallas at Colorado. Series knotted up at 1. Dallas got a huge overtime victory in game 2. We head to Colorado, and Colorado's a $2 favorite. Might be some value there on the Stars. And then late night. This one surprised me. It's a little short. The Kings are laying $1.25, hosting the Oilers. The Kings obviously lead that series 1-0. The Oilers just not the same team right now. The Kings probably should be steeper. Maybe 135, 140-ish, but the Kings $1.25 in that matchup. 15 games across Major League Baseball today. And as we say hi, we open up. First off, let me tell you what's on tap. So we've got a lot to do. Aaron Halterman's going to be joining the program. Joe Dolera is going to be joining the program. Action Network NBA. Scott Spreitzer, of course, been on the program for a long time. Professional handicapper in hour number 3. So that's it, people. We've got 3 hours with you. Sounds like a lot to talk. So what people say you talk for 3 hours. What do you talk about? I don't know. To be honest with you, who knows? Who cares? Let's just have some fun. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. Yeah, give me the number so you can help me with the quandary I just laid out. I can't be talking the whole time. I've got Dustin over here. If you say anything, he gets mad at you. So I'm caught catch 22, as they say, as we say hi to the big guy. Mr. Patrick Ewing, of course, headed back to Atlanta with his boo-boo. Hey, Dustin.
Real quick, we'll get it in very briefly. Play on the game about to tip off with the Celtics and the Magic. You can't bet the spread. I don't know what you would do with that one. We're going to go Jaylen Brown over 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists combined. Went over this in 4 of 7 without Jason Tatum. I know he's got the hobbled knee, but I think we're getting a discounted number because the expectation is he can't handle a full workload. I expect him to thrive in this spot. They'll blow out the Magic. They will advance. It will be a Jaylen Brown game tonight.
Love it. Love it. Is that it for the early game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little hard to parse out a 10-point spread and find a good angle. I mean,
I'll give you a good angle. Lay the 10. Lay the 10. There's your angle. Don't try to outsmart it with those losers in gambling Twitter. Boston is on such another level than Orlando. Tatum's not going to be missed. It doesn't matter.
No, I guess the only question we have with the Tatum injury, it's a shooting wrist. Does this impact things going forward? Do we see him again the rest of the series? Because like you just said, I don't think they freaking need them. Favorites, by the way, went 3-0 straight up and against the spread yesterday. Favorites now 9-4 against the spread in the first round. Unders 10-3. I actually do have a play. Magic team total under 93.5.
Okay, a little bit of defense from Boston, says the big guy, as we open up the program. Hey, did you guys see it today? And Dustin was asking, why I get mad or why I judge people for wanting attention because he was taking pictures on a walk. Here's where it gets dangerous when you want attention. Did you see First Take today with Mad Dog Christopher Russo?
Oh, I did not.
Okay, well, he was doing the show with Snoop Doggy Dogg. Okay, so when you're thriving for attention, and that's what ESPN is going to provide. It's going to provide cash and attention. You end up with the guy that made the album Doggy Style. Right? A little bit of a situation. And by the way, why was Snoop Doggy Dogg on ESPN and First Take today? Wait for it. He's a Steelers fan.
Was Michael Vick in the Molly chair? Because it sounds like we had a dog fight on our hands between Mad Dog and Snoop Dogg.
You good, man? You good? You want to get it going? You all right? I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's fine if that's where you want to start off the program. But that is, big guy, for a fact there is, I don't know, less than a 1% chance that Chris Russo's ever heard a Snoop Dogg song. So to throw him up there, that's a tough spot from the producers at ESPN.
Man
cares what Snoop Dogg thinks about Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, but a good opportunity for Mad Dog and Snoop Dogg to bond over the love of gummies, though. That's the one thing they have in common. Outside of that, I don't know what they're talking about.
Hey, you nailed it. They may not share the same music taste, but they both love getting high on weed.
Well, we don't know for a fact. We're assuming Snoop Dogg does not like the Carpenters. We're just assuming that. He may be way into the Carpenters.
My guess, if Snoop Dogg were hosting a sports show, and it could be coming because we just saw him on ESPN, we put JT on there. My guess is if Snoop Dogg was locked up in COVID, he was probably not talking day after day about Laurel Canyon.
No. He was not into the what are they? The Wilburys, the traveling Wilburys? No, not a fan. He did not stand for Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan in that movie that nobody saw.
No. So if you missed it, it's a good opportunity to go back and watch First Take. They did a little pop as Dog got into it with Snoop Doggy Dogg. So there you have it. As we start the program today with a little NFL draft. Now, listen, this is, I can't really, can we draw a comparison to what the spectacle is? Like, for example, my brother-in-law is a musician, and he doesn't really care. Now, he's gotten into the Lions, and here's how transcendent the NFL is. I went back home, and I like to ask questions about sports because I like to get a feel for the different regions. And I think most of you would know that the Midwest is just fervent about sports. Why? You're pretty much in the house for 6 months out of the year, and that's when most of the sports are being played throughout the fall and winter. So it makes a lot of sense, right? So I like to get a feel for. So I was talking to this young lady who was serving me, and I said, so the Pistons, huh? Am I right? And she was like, what's up with the Pistons? I said, oh, they're in the postseason. She said, oh, I might have heard something about that. I was like, oh, not much of a sports fan, obviously. And then I said, well, what about the Detroit Lions and their playoff run this year? Oh, now you're talking. I don't even like football, but that was a huge deal. And that just goes to show you what the NFL means. It's more of a cultural shift or a cultural movement. And when the Lions were making the run, you had randoms that don't care about sports getting involved because it became part of the community. And that brings us to tomorrow in Green Bay with the draft. Now, back to my brother-in-law, who's just a musician. He went downtown last year to Detroit for the NFL draft. He said it was crazy. He said it was awesome. And you remember the scenes were awesome in Detroit, packed. Now, I'm guessing you, Dustin, you who are listening, and me, I'm guessing we think those hundreds of thousands of people are insane. Who wants to drive? Who wants to park to stand in front of a stage and watch guys you've never heard of be drafted? However, it's an event. It's cultural. And the draft itself has become such a big piece. Now, even as much as it's huge in the gambling space. Now, bookmakers hate to book the draft because it's all hearsay, it's all word of mouth. You'll see crazy variants, you'll see crazy swings in the numbers from day to day. Draft day, the numbers will shift like crazy. So it's one of those, if you're a bettor, you like to get out in front of it, have a little fun. So that's what we're going to do. The draft itself this year is not overly exciting. It just isn't. We had 6 quarterbacks taken in the top 12 last year. We're going to have 1 quarterback taken, number 1 overall. He was a 0-star coming out of high school. And then kind of the linchpin in the draft is Shedeur Sanders. And the question is, does he even go top 10? So it's not a great draft. But what makes it great, kind of like the Orlando Magic and Boston Celtics, is you can bet on it. And that's why VSiN Live is here to provide information for you. So can you think of a comparison, though? Can you think of anything that has turned into the spectacle or the event that the NFL draft is? Dustin, does anything stand out to you?
Well, it's tough because I think the biggest thing about the draft is it's part of the NFL taking over the calendar year, right? They own us from August to February. We get free agency middle of March. The draft is in April. May, the schedule comes out. And then July and August, that's when camp begins. But so this is one of their pillars of controlling the offseason, being relevant in the calendar. It's so unique because every single team matters tomorrow. That's the thing that makes it special. Every single team's in the mix. Not every single team's going to be in the playoffs. Not everyone's going to end up in the Super Bowl, obviously. But every team tomorrow cares. It matters. And we're in a weird spot where the first time since like the 70s or 60s, every single team has their own first-round pick. And that just lets you know the quality of the talent being evaluated this year is that no one's desperate to trade up. No one can get buyers to trade down. It's a very weird spot to compare the NFL draft to anything just because every team matters. I personally believe the NFL draft is the single best sports event of the year. I would take it over anything else that happens all year long. I think it has drama, it has intrigue, and I just love the element that we can have chaos at any point in time.
The draft, I don't know, just to throw it out there, obviously not the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Final, Kentucky Derby, Masters. The draft for you is numero uno.
Yeah, the Super Bowl stinks. Anyone who thinks the Super Bowl is awesome, I don't know what you're paying attention to. The Super Bowl stinks every year. The buildup, we're exhausted by the time it gets here. I mean, a lot of these other events are good because they go on for a long time. But I think the NFL draft, the hope that every team has coming into it, either you're trying to add pieces to win a Super Bowl, you're adding pieces to rebuild an organization to try and make the postseason. But every team has something that they care about.
Oh, I know what the draft is. I'm asking why it is your favorite event, because I'm not saying it's not great. I'm trying to understand why it's become so culturally relevant and why you've called it your favorite event or favorite sporting event of the year.
Well, I think part of it is coming up in the Madden generation. The people like me who played video games, who built their own franchises, people who play fantasy football. This is it on a whole different scale. And you get to go into this, and there's drama in the buildup of each pick, not knowing who it's going to be. And now the betting aspect of trying to predict who everyone's going to take. I can tell you this. I had no draft bets as of Monday. I'm looking at my sheet right now. I think I have like 15 draft bets. All of a sudden, I believe all sorts of things are possible. And I think that's what makes the draft interesting is anything could happen once Goodell hits the podium tomorrow night.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't call it my favorite, but I certainly love it. I've done the broadcast for many, many years. I can't really put a finger on why. It's just, I guess it's the spectacle. We like to see kids' dreams come true.
Yeah.
There's always a good TV package that's presented. There's generally some pretty good drama. I think there's going to be some pretty good drama, even if the names aren't what we're hoping for or what we're used to even just last year. I think you're going to see a lot of trades. I really do. I think there's such a variance as far as how these players are evaluated this year. And I'll give you the name that is absolutely right now on top of mind with everybody. And this is why I always try to tell you, yes, you could definitely run an NFL franchise. Trust me. So when Ashton Genty penned, and I think it was Instagram, he essentially penned a letter that was just like, "Hey, I'm lit. If you draft me, it's going to be on." I mean, it was just basic, but it was, whatever. His agency or he decided to throw it out there. All of a sudden, teams were like, "Got to take him." They didn't care about the tape from Boise. They didn't care about the combine or his pro day. He posted something on Insta, and people all of a sudden started getting thirsty. And literally since that post on Instagram, Genty has been flying up the draft board. I believe I have a bet for you, and I think the number's crazy. It was even crazier yesterday. I'm positive, and I mean this, I'm positive Ashton Genty is going to go number 3. And so who holds the 3rd pick right now? That is the New York Football Giants. Behind the Giants, I believe the Patriots, then Jacksonville, then the Raiders. Do I got that right, big guy, as far as the order?
Patriots, Jacksonville, Raiders, correct.
Okay, so Dustin yesterday got Genty to go number 3. Now remember, he has to be picked number 3. He got him at 40-1. It was still 30-1 today. So $100 wins you $3,000 if Genty is picked number 3 overall. That's going to happen because the Giants are going to trade out of the 3rd pick. They know for 1 is going to be Ward, 2 is going to be Travis Hunter. We know that. Number 3, the Giants are going to trade back, get some obviously assets, and it's either Jacksonville or the Raiders that are going to move up to 3. So the Giants are going to move back to 5. By the way, there's a possibility that the Patriots could be drafting Genty as well. So I think Jacksonville knows it. Jacksonville absolutely wants the running back. I think the Raiders absolutely want the running back. That's 5 and that's 6. All right. Number 4 is the Patriots. Jacksonville and the Raiders know they got to get ahead of the Patriots. And number 3 is the Giants. Again, 30-1 on Genty to go 3 overall. I freaking love it.
All right, I'll give you a little bit more. One, the odds have flipped. So Tony Pauline, who's going to join the show tomorrow during the draft, he had a report yesterday that the Jaguars believe that Ashton Genty is the missing piece for their offense. And think about Genty, think about his size, and think about Liam Cohen, the new head coach of the Jaguars. He had Bucky Irving in Tampa. That offense took off when they went to Bucky Irving as the main running back for the Buccaneers. And I think Genty physically is very similar to Bucky Irving. Now, he's more explosive. He has more upside. And after Pauline reported that, the Jaguars become your favorite in the market at DraftKings at plus 110. Raiders move from minus 125 as the favorite to plus 150. And then it gets interesting because the Bears 3-1, the Patriots plus 750, and the Broncos 9-1. 2 of those last 3 you didn't mention because they're not picking in the top 5. I think the Chicago Bears are another team to watch here. Ben Johnson, you know this from what you saw, what he did with Montgomery and Gibbs. He wants an explosive running back. He wants a dual threat guy. You pair him with Caleb Williams and the weapons they have on the outside. They've already rebuilt a lot of that offensive line. I think the Bears will be super aggressive to try and trade up and get a running back that could be a missing piece for their offense. And then I wouldn't count out Denver. Think about what Sean Payton did over the years in New Orleans, especially with Alvin Kamara at the end. You take some of the pressure off of Bo Nix. The Broncos are a team I bet 13-1 to draft Genty. I also bet a few other teams to draft him at big numbers yesterday because I do think there is going to be a feeding frenzy where teams are looking to trade up there because not just the Giants. You said the Patriots, Patrick. Think about this. Mike Vrabel, when he was in Tennessee, he was making the postseason every year. How is he able to do that? He controlled the clock with an elite running game with Derrick Henry. So there's all these teams that can use Ashton Genty's services. Therefore, my team, the New York Giants, need to do what you just said and trade out of that spot and make them pay maximum price.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if the Giants are in the market, but again, if you bet that Genty will be drafted 3 and the Giants hold pat, they draft them. But the bottom line is the assumption is the Giants want the edge from Penn State. They can get the edge from Penn State if they move back and still get assets. Capiche?
Yeah, I'm not even sure they want him as much as it is he's a generational player and he's falling in. You're settling for him at 3. You have to just take him because they don't even really have a spot for him to play right away. I guess they'll move Kayvon Thibodeau or make him a rotational guy because Carter has a higher upside than Thibodeau. It's one of those spots where you're not drafting for need at that point. You're just drafting pure great talent with Abdul Carter falling to you for the Giants. The Giants do have a lot of needs, both sides of the football. They would be smart to trade down, get whoever else's first-round pick and a couple other middle rounders, and rebuild that team because you got a GM and a head coach on the hot seat.
Yeah, no, you do. So the teams you mentioned the Bears, you mentioned the Raiders, you mentioned the Jags, you mentioned the Pats, you mentioned the Denver Broncos. All of them are interested in Genti. The Giants are in an amazing spot, is what I'm trying to tell you. And 30-1 at 3 for Genti to be drafted is still a tremendous number.
It's kind of ironic. Shouldn't all those teams learn from the Giants' mistake of taking Saquon Barkley number 2 overall and not reaching for a running back when you don't necessarily need it? It's ironic the Giants are sitting there and they could use a running back. But the reality is that doesn't get them closer to winning a Super Bowl. So why take him? You could fix other aspects of your roster, and all these other teams now are going to pay a hefty price if they do want Genti. I'm not so sure I'm buying the Jaguar stuff, to be honest. I don't really know. They've got a couple running backs on the roster. Etienne's never gotten a chance to really play within a good system for a running back. I'm curious about their real interest here. The Raiders make sense to me to do it because you think about Pete Carroll and Marshawn Lynch and what they were able to do up in Seattle. That's a vibe that makes sense to me, Genti to the Raiders. But do the Raiders have the assets, or are they willing with a new regime there to pay the price?
Yeah, we're going to have a little fun with the running back position here on VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio during the program today. We're going to go past the last 12 drafts and just talk about those first rounders, so running back selected in the first round, and talk about the success or lack thereof. There was certainly a resurgence of the running back last year. You mentioned Saquon. Derrick Henry had an amazing year. So a lot of these running backs, a running back that was traded from the Raiders had a tremendous year, obviously. So, and Carroll is old school, missing piece with the Jags. Again, it's all adding up to Genti. And Genti, to be fair, there are evaluators, take it for what it is, that have said if Genti stays healthy, that he could be a Hall of Famer. I don't see any reason. Now, injuries are its variance, and injuries can be fluky, but that dude is built like an S brick house. That dude is thicker than Saquon was coming out.
Yeah, and I want to take shots at him because he was in the Mountain West, but then you look at every time they elevated in talent who they were playing. He ran for almost 200 yards against Oregon. He still had 104 against Penn State in the playoff. Like, he still produced against elite talent. And you have to remember, it's not like he had elite quarterback play with him in that backfield where people didn't know the ball was going to him. Everyone knew he was getting the rock every single play, and he still put up monster numbers every single week.
Yeah, there are teams, like, for example, number 2. And so the question for you, do you think Shedeur is going to go top 10? 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. He has been talked about going 2, 3 overall to not being drafted in the first round. I cannot remember a quarterback with such varying degrees of just analysis, to be honest. And I think a lot of it has to do with his dad. There's a lot that comes with the Shedeur talk. So that's where I'm going to start with that. And we're going to, again, go through the running backs. It will be fascinating with Genti. He's going to be there in Green Bay. Kind of cool that the draft is going to be held in Green Bay. With really the English town of America that has a franchise. If you go to the UK, if you go to England, you'll go to different towns and they'll be like, oh, this little town has a soccer club that actually competes in big-time leagues. I would say Green Bay is our only American town where there's like a couple of 100,000 people, where it's just a proper town that has one of 32 franchises. It's unique. Obviously, Lombardi and the history. So cool to see the draft in Green Bay this year.
Yeah, I kind of like them taking the draft on the road. I mean, at first when they did it, I thought New York was like the spot for it. Let all these people go to New York, have the event there. It seems like, it's a big event town that makes sense. But since they've put it in a different city every year, the crowd shots look cool. Not that I like hanging out in big crowds like that, but if I was the type of person who enjoyed being around other human beings outside of my apartment, that is something I would consider doing.
Yeah, no, totally. Nashville, I remember. And if you were to travel to Green Bay and hang out in that crowd, you'd be in a tough spot because you'd have to get a hotel.
Yeah. Not if I have family there. I can look up if I have family.
Mommy's not there. But yeah, you would be in a tough spot for sure. Okay. All right, big guy, let's get it started. I know you have a ton of bets on the draft. That is my question. Is Shador going to go top 10, and should he? Go ahead.
ESPN Bet put this out a few hours ago on their app for betting purposes. At noon today, Shador Sanders' draft position was 8.5. They moved it to 21.5. DraftKings had him at 14.5, but to be drafted past 14, minus 450. Minus 450 to go later than 14.
Okay, that for people that don't understand what that means if he goes past 14, you have to lay $450 to win 100. So you have to put down a hell of a lot of money. So maybe I'm short-sighted and saying, will he be a top 10 pick?
Yeah, but did you see the quote? Did you see the quote that came out today via Tom Pelissero?
I did not.
And so an anonymous NFL assistant told Tom Pelissero, quote, "He's the worst formal interview I've ever been in my life. He's so entitled. He takes unnecessary sacks. He never plays on time. He has horrible body language. He blames teammates. But the biggest thing is he's not that good." Which, what other world do we live in where like people don't have to put their names on quotes and can just say something so inflammatory about someone before this? Is there any chance some of this stuff with the talk about Shador is because teams want him and they want him to fall to them? Or do you think some of this criticism is legit?
I think it's legit.
Yeah.
If we were talking about a special talent
Yeah.
and you had the ties to his father, again, who said that to Pelissero?
An anonymous NFL assistant coach.
Assistant coach.
Yes.
Yeah. That's like Rossini. Look, the Pelisseros, the Rossinis, the Schefters, the
Rappaport.
whatever other donks. Yeah, whatever the donks are. They forge relationships. That's what they do. And oftentimes, I think they get chummy, and I think they get outlandish quotes. Like Rossini got a quote from a head coach that said he would take the kid from Louisville over Cam Ward.
Sure.
And he's 26, and he's not good.
Okay.
So I don't know what to think of those. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. And also, reporters, I'm not saying they're lying, but reporters this time of the year, back to the attention, they like it.
No, but
give me something on this player. Give me something. You're not going to draft them. Give me something.
This is, I'm going to be annoying. This is a societal thing. We've created a world where journalism is just, putting your text messages out there where people don't put their name on it. Like, that's what we see as good journalism in covering sports is agents and coaches and GMs to control narratives, reach out to reporters, and reporters just put their quotes out there. I heard this from a source. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, they're playing games to benefit the people texting them. It's insane.
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing here, people?
We need some regulations.
I got Genty going 3. When we come back, I want to talk about Cousins as well. The Kirk Cousins domino will fall tomorrow. It will give you the parameters on Cousins and where he could end up. And then where do you have Shador going? Maybe I should adjust it. That's a good job by you with where everybody's adjusting his draft position. I said top 10 because there's going to be a hungry or thirsty quarterback team that's going to take a chance. You do have the Saints sitting there at 9, and the Saints have been, potentially discussed on Shador. So that's where we start today with the NFL draft. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Snoop Doggy Dog and Mad Dog Christopher Russo. That is must watch. It really is. It is much. I don't know if he's heard doggy style. I don't even know if he's ever done it, but I just know Doggy's hanging out with him today. We're back. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, NBA playoffs, NFL draft. VSiN has you covered. NBA playoffs are heating up. VSiN's breaking it all down from series odds to matchup breakdowns. You find more of the NBA playoff coverage on the VSiN Watch app. And, of course, the NFL draft. You want to make plays? You want to bet? Just go over to vsin.com and the VSiN Watch app. As we do welcome you back, this is VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. We're talking the draft. Just quickly, we've got the basketball and hockey tonight. The Lakers, I guess the reports of their demise were much overstated as the Lakers bounced back and pummeled. Now, it was an 8-9 point finish. That is not indicative of what was happening in the game. They got a bad game from LeBron James and absolutely pummeled Minnesota. I'm telling you, that is a live basketball team. So we'll get to more of that here in just a bit. But 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. We're talking the draft. Where do you have Shedeur going? That he seems to be the linchpin. And then again, I've got Genty going number 3. It doesn't matter which team drafts him, just as long as Genty is selected. 3 overall, 30-1. I know Dustin bet it yesterday at 40-1. Dustin, I mentioned Kirk Cousins. So he is soon to be 37. And obviously it's Michael Penix Jr.'s team, which is interesting. It's so fascinating. Like, you do realize the Atlanta Falcons gave Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $180 million deal last March, and then a month later, they drafted Penix Jr. at 8. And by the way, the general manager still has his job. So there is something to be said for that. He has $27.5 million guaranteed next year to be a backup for the Atlanta Falcons. So he is going to be moved. And Cousins obviously wants to be a starter. So the team getting him would be in a pretty good position because they could just restructure, right? Hey, Cousins, we're going to trade you. Do you agree to a restructure? And the teams that I have, I've written down a Pittsburgh, a New Orleans, a Cleveland reunited with Stefanski, Minnesota, he's familiar with O'Connell's system, San Francisco, if the negotiations don't look like they're going to work out with Brock Purdy, Dustin. I'll ask you this question directly. Pittsburgh, you're them? Do you want Cousins or do you want Rodgers if the choice is between the two?
If I'm trying to win right now, that's so tough because I think you win more games with Kirk Cousins, but you don't win a Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't believe Aaron Rodgers has very much left, but if you're signing Aaron Rodgers, it's because you believe there's just enough left talent-wise and ability-wise where he can win you a Super Bowl. So at his peak, Cousins is more likely to get you there in the postseason. But if you're just trying to win football games, the answer is Kirk Cousins. He's younger. I think he had an arm injury late last year that should have healed by now. I think he is a bit more likely to be better, but he just doesn't have the upside of Rodgers. I would go Cousins, though.
Yeah, he's 36. He started playing much better after he got past the injury. I know he had an arm issue. The velocity was down. If you're giving me the choice of Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers, it's a snap call for me. I'll take Cousins 10 times out of 10 at this point in their careers, and I don't have to deal with the drama in the locker room.
But I would tell you, the one team you did mention that gets me excited is the idea of San Francisco saying, you know what, Brock Purdy, we made you. Go test the market. Go get yourself an offer because you're not going to get what we are supposed to pay you, which is, $40, $50 million as a franchise quarterback. The reason Kirk Cousins was a starting quarterback in the NFL is because of the Shanahans. The Shanahans were obsessed with him. They had him at the Senior Bowl. They drafted him the same year as RG3. That would be a fascinating combination to reunite them in San Francisco, where he is like the perfect quarterback for that system.
Yeah, I agree. The Purdy thing is fascinating because, as you mentioned, he's not going to come close to getting the money that San Francisco is going to pay him if he were on the market. So I really like your approach. I would probably do the same thing. I would bring in Cousins as a stopgap and say, we're entering, I think it's after this year with Purdy, we've got to decide what we're going to do with the contract. And I put some pressure on his ass and say, hey, I know you're comfortable here, but nobody else is going to want you at any price. I mean, people will want you, but they're not going to pay. They're going to pay you like a Sam Darnold's going to get paid, something like that.
Yeah, he'd be lucky to get that. I think everyone, the perception is what you get paid on. And the perception around the league isn't Brock Purdy as a franchise quarterback that elevates your squad. It's that he is an extension of Kyle Shanahan, and he plays well within that system with all of those weapons. What is Brock Purdy when those weapons are out of the lineup? What is Brock Purdy without Kyle Shanahan calling plays, where Kyle Shanahan's won NFL games with guys like John Beck and Rex Grossman in his past? Like, he's won with C.J. Beathard. I don't believe Brock Purdy is getting $30 million a year if he hits the open market, but that's the risk for San Francisco. If you let him listen to other offers, you could potentially lose him, and then you're starting over. But if you're Kyle Shanahan, you're supposed to be a quarterback whisperer. Risk that. Go find someone else and create the next Purdy.
Yeah, and you're right. The Shanahans didn't want Robert Griffin III in that draft. They wanted Kirk Cousins. The owner Daniel Snyder wanted RG3. And so, yeah, you're right. The Shanahans have had a long time love affair with Kirk Cousins. Let's get to the phones here on VSiN Live, 888-623-3646. And we'll start in Tampa with Chris. Chris, welcome.
Patrick, just talking about Kirk Cousins and mentioning him coming back to Minnesota, although I live in Tampa, I'm a big Vikings fan. Vikings fans have been telling me that I've been hitting too much shtick in saying that Kirk Cousins could be a good possibility, certainly as a backup. But if you were to bring him in at the right price, it's like the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. If you were to get Aaron Rodgers for $10 or $15 million, like, why wouldn't you do that? The Vikings had tremendous success numerous different times with Kirk Cousins as their starting quarterback. And, bringing him back with Jefferson and we don't have to go over it. We know that Kirk could be successful in Minnesota. I think that you make a great point with San Francisco. I'd love to discuss this at length, but I think that it's not out of control that you entertain the possibility of bringing him back to Minnesota, and you tell Kirk, look, if the price is right, you'll compete with JJ. You'll probably look better. And if you win the job, so be it. But can you come in on a one-year deal? And this is what Kirk maybe needs to think about. Okay, any team that's going to sign you, if Atlanta happens to cut you, you get the $27 million, so you can sign it at a discount with somebody else. Right. And are you willing to then bet on yourself one more? Bet on yourself. Are you willing to bet on yourself 1 year, Kirk, and then prove that you could still be a $30 million a year quarterback?
Good job, Chris. First off, there's smoke, so there must be fire on Minnesota being bantied about. There must be something going on with McCarthy. Their names are constantly out there, like perpetually. So there must be something going on with McCarthy. That's my guess. And Cousins would be perfect. Cousins knows, obviously, the city, knows the players. I agree. Cousins, he's not necessarily Aaron Rodgers. You mentioned paying a quarterback $10 million. Rodgers went on McAfee with his PR campaign and said, I'd play for 10 M's. He literally said that. Certain players get to a point, and many people in many careers get to a point where, like Pete Carroll, you didn't have to pay Pete Carroll to coach the Raiders. Like, you just didn't. They get to a point where it's like, I just want to do this. And Rodgers wants to just keep on building on his legacy. So money's not the issue.
Yeah, but money was the issue. That's why Kirk Cousins left. I think there's thought that Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, they didn't divorce because they didn't think Cousins could play anymore. Minnesota looked at the salary cap. They looked at everything else they had there, and they saw they had a coach in O'Connell who's great at coaching up an offense and developing quarterbacks. They said, let's allocate that $30 million that Kirk Cousins was making his last year. Let's put it into the rest of the roster. Let's start over at quarterback while we're still winning football games and we have the organization's trust. And that's why Kirk Cousins ended up in Atlanta, because they didn't want to pay him again at 35, 36 years old, another $30, $40 million contract, which is something the Falcons did. The Falcons were desperate for quarterback play. Kirk Cousins made $27.5 million last year. Next year he'll make $27.5 million. He actually got $62 million last year. Good God. $27.5 next year, $45 the year after that, $45 the year after that. Minnesota wasn't willing to do that. They wanted to put that money back into the rest of the team and start over at signal caller. There is no bad blood between him and Stefanski. Or O'Connell. We've seen what O'Connell can do with average quarterbacks. Let's get Cousins back there and you'll contend. And the McCarthy thing is, he had 2 knee surgeries. He's 20-something years old, and he already had to have 2 knee surgeries with the injury that kept him out his rookie year. That's the concern there for the Vikings.
Yep. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888 623 3646. So I think as far as storylines with the draft, again, you didn't have a defensive player picked until 15 overall last year. That's not going to happen this year. You know, the safe player, like the tackle out of LSU, Campbell, very safe. Go ahead.
Well, how about this? What you're talking about with Cousins, and the shocker a year ago at this time, no one had the Atlanta Falcons drafting Michael Penix where they did. What were they drafting, 8th or something like that? 8th, 12th, somewhere in that range. I'll look it up. But we don't know. Could we get a shocker like that tomorrow? Will there be a quarterback that goes where we just didn't anticipate it? It would have to be a quarterback to blow us away. But a year ago on this day, we were not thinking about Michael Penix going to the Falcons right after they signed Kirk Cousins. Could we potentially see more fireworks tomorrow with that?
I mean, it was pretty obvious that Cousins had an injury, and maybe the general manager, if he were to come on the show, he would say, yeah, we gave him the deal, but then we realized that we had a, damaged product, which to me, I would say, wait, you gave somebody guaranteed you gave somebody a 4-year, $180 million deal and you didn't have questions about his durability or his injury status? What?
Well, they probably didn't look at his arm because he was coming off an Achilles. They said the Achilles looked good. No one thought his shoulder or elbow or whatever it was would give out midway through the year. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense to me is they went, all right, leg looks good. We're good to go. Let's sign Kirk Cousins to take over.
Yeah, it's a weird situation, but we just know that they can't continue to pay him. So after the draft, or tomorrow, you'll hear something about Kirk Cousins. Is there any other storyline draft-wise? We know Shedeur. The Travis Hunter thing is fascinating because the general manager, Barry, with Cleveland, called him Ohtani. You're not going to call somebody Ohtani and pass on him at 2. It's just not going to happen.
No, that's done. We already know Cam Ward 1. We know Travis Hunter 2. 3 should be Abdul Carter unless the Giants get an offer there. Looking at some of the reports coming out, the Raiders are a team that I think is interesting. They could go in a lot of different directions in their rebuild. Rossini reported today that the front office is pushing to take an offensive lineman with the 6th pick. Right now, Colton Miller, one of their tackles, he's holding out for more money. They were originally thought to be the team that was going to draft Ashton Genty, but you also have guys like Max Crosby, who they signed long-term, who probably wants more help on the defensive side of the ball. So that's an interesting development there. And then this is what I want to see tomorrow. Normally when we talk about teams trading up, Patrick, it's trading up for a quarterback. But look around the NFL. What is the trend that the elite offenses have? In fact, the Raiders have one, and Brock Bowers, a tight end. George Kittle, Travis Kelce. It's the trendy thing now to have these elite pass-catching tight ends. Rossini had a report today that the Rams are showing interest in a first-round tight end. A year ago, they tried to trade up for Brock Bowers. They were unsuccessful. There are 2 elite tight ends in this draft. Tyler Warren out of Penn State, who everyone loves, and Colston Loveland, who is right there with him, super athletic, can do everything, out of Michigan. A lot of people think Warren to the Colts, Warren to the Bears, and Loveland going back with Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. But apparently the Rams want a tight end, and those 2 would be in play if they want to trade up.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Talking draft, which is coming up tomorrow from Green Bay, and continuing quarterback movement. We've got Rodgers, we've got Cousins with question marks. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
The NBA playoffs are here. You can catch it all on SiriusXM NBA Radio, Channel 86 at 9 East. Here the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors collide in Houston. Don't miss a moment of the postseason action on Channel 86. And remember, you can find all the games, home and away calls, at SiriusXM.com/sports. Okay, we do welcome you back, VSiN Live. Sad news out of the NFL. Former Chicago Bear Steve McMichael, who had a long battle with ALS. We're just getting word that he passed away, so RIP Steve McMichael, who I think just about an hour ago, Dustin said being reported that he passed. So we're talking NFL draft, and Boston has a 5-point lead right now over Orlando. Did you say the Heat are up on Cleveland early?
Yeah, 16-7, Cleveland or Miami on the road up on Cleveland. And I should note, second quarter begins with a 10-5 run for Boston to extend their lead 41-35 right now without Brown on the floor. So a good start there by the Boston Celtics there in the second quarter.
Yeah, they get a dunk. They're up 6, 5:57 to play in the second. All right, we're talking the draft, and also we're talking what's going to happen with some of these vets, including Cousins and Rodgers at the quarterback position. I don't know if it's the Steelers. I think, are the Steelers waiting simply on a Rodgers decision, or are the Steelers maybe getting cold feet? We just don't know anything. I don't think anything was cleared up with his appearance on McAfee last week.
No, but I did bet today Pittsburgh's first pick to be a quarterback. No matter who they sign, we all believe they're drafting a quarterback this draft, right? If not the first round, definitely the second round. But it feels like when you're a team that's a quarterback away from contending, you sign Rodgers, you trade for Cousins, and you get a young guy. I mean, we have to assume they're taking a quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. Or if they sign Rodgers, they'll certainly draft one next year. But the Steelers, obviously, in need of a quarterback. We're talking quarterbacks. We're actually talking Brock Purdy and what's going to happen with him up in San Francisco because, San Francisco, kind of a dark horse name being floated around for Cousins. And Adam in San Francisco, not happy with the Purdy takes on this program. Adam, hi.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good, buddy. What's up?
Listen, first, I just want to say I love your show. It is always just the best. However, I really think you guys are so far off on the Purdy evaluation. First of all, I'm in the Bay Area, but I'm not a Niners fan, okay? But my goodness, you talk about him like he's an average quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He's not great at all, but he's good. And you say he'd be lucky to get Sam Darnold money. Are you kidding me? You say that Purdy's in a system, whatever. Darnold last year with O'Connell, with those weapons, and he did it for 1 year. Purdy's done it for a few. But let me ask you this, in all honesty, would you rather have Purdy or Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
It's not even a question.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Would you rather have Purdy or Tua?
Purdy,
yeah.
Okay. Purdy or Geno Smith?
Geno.
Yeah, Geno in that system would be way better.
Geno in a vacuum, Geno, but obviously Purdy's so young. Maybe I am being harsh on Purdy, but to say I take Purdy over Trevor Lawrence is wild.
Well, not to. I mean, what has Lawrence done? Lawrence, big moments, throws picks. He's not lived up at all to his his. I mean, so anyway, my point is, do I think Purdy deserves a boatload? No. But I think absolutely the Niners would pay him $40 million.
Oh, Adam, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. And we're all allowed to have differing opinions. Totally agree. And I know for a fact that the 49ers are going to give him what you said. We're just simply questioning, would he get that on the open market from other teams? The 49ers have a lot invested in Purdy.
Yeah, and they created him. And I think that's why we look at it this way. And look, he's ran with it. He is a very fine quarterback, but who else is paying him? Tell me who the Niners are bidding against. Why would they give him $50 million? Who else is offering him anything close to that? That's the point here. And in a salary cap league, you can't just pay him because he's quote unquote the franchise quarterback. I'll pay him, but tell me who else was in the mix, because there's not that many teams. We're going to have teams draft quarterbacks this year. There's going to be fewer and fewer in the market to acquire and need a new one. I don't know who the Niners are going up against to retain Purdy, so why pay him max value of what a quarterback's supposed to get when the guy only exists because you made him?
Maybe I have do I have a blind spot with Purdy? Or
no.
I know Purdy is definitely a lightning rod, so I could be off on him.
I
don't know.
I actually like him. No. So I like him more than you like him, but I still wouldn't pay him $50 million. I think he's the right guy at the right time for the Niners.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-62. Let's have that conversation throughout the program. Lawrence or Purdy? We've got Aaron Halterman joining us next here. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Speaking of read boys and reads, Dustin knows that VSiN is on SiriusXM channel 158. I actually heard Dustin listening to it right before the program started. He had to get all the betting information, and you can get it too. And you can get become a VSiN Pro for $19 right now through August 1st. I mean, have they lost their minds? You get a daily email. Halterman's on there. The big guy's on there. Samich, the whole crew, with all the best bets from hosts and their guests. Exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circus Sportsbook. That's actually a really good tool if you're just getting into betting to try to read the market. You've got I was going to say a square book. You've got a public book and DraftKings, and a sharp book, Just Ask 'em, and Circus Sports. Plus, our Kentucky Derby betting guide is going to be dropping, our NFL betting guide. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SIRIUS to unlock this special deal. So, again, it's $19 through August 1st. Hey, speaking of the Kentucky Derby betting guide, that is quite a segue into Aaron Halterman. Of course, Halterman, he's feeling himself lately. As we welcome you back here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. We got Brandon in New York City. We've got Ryan Smith in Las Vegas. Of course, Ryan running our YouTube page, VSiN.com. No, excuse me, YouTube.com @VSiN Live. So jump in the chat. Halterman feeling himself. You know him from RacingDudes.com. He is a professional bettor, and he is hosting VSiN at the Track, the road to the Kentucky Derby, every Friday with Mike Somich, 2:15 East, 11:15 West, replayed on Saturday on VSiN proper, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Then this is the big news, Aaron Halterman. There is a simulcast going down on Mad Dog Sports Radio and VSiN proper on Kentucky Derby Saturday, hosted by you and Somich, 4 to 7 East. That is freaking lit, my friend. Good job by you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I don't know what I did to get it, but yeah, thank you. No, it's super exciting. I think, we did a show last year, Patrick, that was really good. And I think this is like 2 hours more than even we got to do. So super excited. Somich is excited as well. We've got so much we're going to cover in those 4 hours. So yeah, thankful to be on it. And look, we're like 10 days away. It's crazy.
Yeah, Midwest passive aggressive right there, by the way. Midwest passive aggressive. Don't know what I did other than being the nicest human on the planet and winning a lot of bets. That's all you did. I don't know.
Oh, you feel like he was okay. Yeah, listen, that's what he does. He is passive aggressive. Aaron Halterman, still a friend. Big hockey guy. We're going to get into that in just a bit. And Aaron Halterman, if you catched him over the weekend, hosting Ready, Set, Bet with Mike Somich. So part of VSiN proper now. You love to see it. You love to see the good people winning. And Halterman is certainly that. Speaking of winning, last night I got murdered. We'll leave the basketball out of it for a second and just talk hockey, because that's really what I'm more dialed in on, if I'm being completely honest. The Wild jumped out all over our family team in VGK. That was incredible. The Wild are a team that's not offensive, and they dropped like 4 in a row on the Golden Knights. The Panthers and Lightning. The Panthers boat raced the Lightning, and I'm still pissed off about it. That's for you, Somich. The Maple Leafs held on in overtime, beat the Sens. Last night was pretty good. Devils, Hurricanes, 3-1 winner. I know the big guy had under 5.5. What'd you take from the NHL action last night?
Yeah, well, there's 2 big takeaways for me. And number one, the Florida Panthers look like the Florida Panthers for the first time in 2.5 months. And that's the biggest headline of it all. Because here's why. If they can look like that, if Matthew Tkachuk can play like that and be back and be his old self, they can win the Stanley Cup. The problem was, going into the series, we just didn't see if that was going to happen, because we hadn't seen Tkachuk since the Four Nations, and kind of the rumors that I was heard, like, I don't know that he's going to be 100%. He scores 2 goals last night. And then the Florida Panthers, the players that had been playing just had looked terrible. So that's the biggest headline for me. They look so good. Can they, was it just a 1-game thing? Can they, build on that and do it over and over? Because if they can, all of a sudden they're the favorites in the East. So that was the big thing there. And in the West, it was just an all-out stinker of a game from Vegas. It was awful. I would now give Minnesota credit, right? Because you got to go take advantage of those mistakes. That's the worst I've seen Vegas play in 84 games of hockey this year. That's 82 games of a regular season, and that's 2 games of the postseason. They were absolutely awful. They turned the puck over in ways that I could not even ever imagine that team would do. Shea Theodore, who is a great defenseman, was the worst defenseman on the ice last night. He was awful. I was in shock watching that game, because the one thing I know about Vegas is they're going to be solid defensively and they're not going to make dumb mistakes. And all they did was make dumb mistakes all night. That was horrific performance. I expect a bounce back, but they couldn't have been any worse last night.
The Panthers plus 750 right now to win the whole thing. I'm concerned about our Golden Knights. They became our show's team for the Western Conference. They're 10-1 to win it all. Do you put what happened last night against Minnesota on the rest of the team, or should we be concerned about Adin Hill and net right now?
Oh, absolutely. Do not be concerned about Adin Hill, because it should have been like 10-0. But he really didn't play all that bad. Listen, when you turn the puck over to the top line of Minnesota over and over and over, you're going to give up goals. It's just that simple. Here's the deal. I think they won the first game. I don't think they were quite sharp for like playoff style hockey sharp. Game 3 is going to tell us. If they play like trash again, big time concern. I expect a bounce back from them. I listened to Bruce Cassidy after the game. I've never seen him so mad. He was livid at that team. So I expect a bounce back. He basically said, look, everything that happened in that game is correctable and something that we shouldn't be doing. So I'm not concerned about it yet, and I'm not concerned about Aiden Hill at all. I think he'll be fine.
Good question by Dustin. I thought there was a couple of cheapies early from the Vegas goaltender, and then I thought he stood on his head later. So I think he kind of kept them in it, to your point. The Tampa Bay Lightning were in the perfect spot. The worst team in the world coming into the postseason was the Florida Panthers. You're at home. All you had to do was pummel that punk-ass team. And now I know I pretended like I liked the Panthers last year. I don't like the Panthers. I have a friend in Tampa. She was at the viewing party. Tampa Bay can get the hell off my TV. That team freaking stinks. They were horrible at home yesterday. I hate that team.
I would be very much concerned if you backed Tampa for right now, because that was just a beating. Like you look at that game and go, okay, you guys just neglected that Tkachuk was back. The first goal he scored, they just left him all alone right in front of the net, nobody even around him. And by the way, it looked like they were in quicksand all night. I mean, Florida was just flying right by him. I'm 100% with you. They were awful. But look, if I would have told you, hey, the Florida from December and January, they're back and they're going to be playing in this series, you would probably take Florida to win the series. And I think that's going to be the key. I look at it like this. It's like, okay, Florida got their guys back. They got their fresh legs, maybe. Okay, you got the one. Now what does Tampa do to adjust? I mean, I think they should be in panic mode, but at the same time, I don't think Tampa's beat. I don't think it's over. I think this Florida team caught them and myself, to be honest, by complete shock, because they looked like the team that won the cup last year. And like I said, we hadn't seen that since January. So let's see how they adjust. Let's not bury them yet. They better win game 2, or you can put them 6 feet under, because they're done if Tampa doesn't win game 2.
Yeah, totally.
What about the game going on right now? Canadians up 1-0 early in the second period on the Caps in DC. We could get plus 130 on Washington. They're up 1-0 in the series, down 1-0 in the game. Will we think about doing anything there? In-game totals down to 4.5, Aaron.
I would tread lightly with this one, because if you watched game 1, the Capitals got out to a 2-0 lead, and you're like, okay, they're going to kind of bully them around. And the next thing you know, we're going at overtime. It's 2-2, and Ovechkin has to score his first career overtime goal to win that game. We've talked about them, for 2 or 3 months now, boys. They are a team, talking about the Capitals, they've overachieved. What does this actually look like when we get in a 7-game series? And they've got a draw that shouldn't be too much of a problem for them. They're a problem right now. The Canadians up 1-0. Plus 130, you said. That's a decent enough price on the Capitals. Watch about another 5 minutes and see how this game goes. That'd be my kind of response to that, because they really did not look great in game 1 after that initial surge that you see a home team have a lot of times in the playoffs. After that surge, they didn't do a lot. They've come out tonight. I watched a lot of the first period before we got on here, guys, and they kind of look lackluster. So I would take a wait and see what happens these next 5 or 10 minutes of this game.
Yeah, Salty Halty does not like the Caps. We know this. They were a team that weren't expected to do anything. They come out and win the East. Ovechkin goes crazy. It's a great story, but is it a Stanley Cup team? Probably not. Aaron Halterman joining us talking sports betting here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Obviously a big hockey guy. We will get to the NBA and Major League Baseball and, of course, the Kentucky Derby over the next few. The Stars and the Abs. It's almost impossible to frame how important the game 2 win for. Obviously they had to win it or they lose the series, but the Stars in overtime in game 2 as dogs at home pick up a W, tie the series at 1 with the Abs. Abs are a $2 favorite tonight.
I think if you're going to play the Avs, which I'm going to play, you got to lay the 1.5 and get that plus money price, or you need to play them to win in regulation. I know you like to do that a little bit, Patrick, and I think Samich is into that a little bit as well. You don't get quite a good price, but you do get a little bit more juice for that one. Look, I think even though the Avs lost game 2, I felt like they were the better team. I do feel like they're the clear better team through 2 games. The big thing for me and the big question mark for me with this Avs team, what would Mackenzie Blackwood look like in goal? Because he's a good goaltender, but he has no playoff experience, right? So that was the big question mark. I thought he was outstanding in game 1. I mean, just outstanding. Game 2, he wasn't quite as sharp, but when they got into overtime, he made some big saves to keep them in the game and keep that overtime going. I think Colorado is going to really enjoy being back at home. I think they jump on them. I don't mind laying goal and a half with a team like Colorado because they're so dangerous. They can just put the puck in the net so fast.
Goal Caps.
Cap scored?
Yeah, but I bet him live. That's why I did.
Nice.
I apologize. I bet him live because I'm a donk. Playing the goal and a half with the Avs. I interrupted you. I apologize.
Love it.
Are they great
to go
are they
after
great
the
on home? Are they great on home ice?
I mean, they really are 26-12 this year on home ice. And, look, I think you saw a Stars team that they're struggling, right? They've got a lot of injuries. They're trying to gel this thing together as quickly as they can. And I think you saw a team that's got a ton of pride and just kind of grit your teeth and let's get this win. We have to get it. Now we flip to Colorado, and I just think it's too much Colorado in this one. So, yeah, lay the goal and a half, and I think you're going to be fine with Colorado tonight.
The late game tonight, I know you don't have an official play. Just want to get your thoughts. Kings up 1-0 on the series against Edmonton. Series still in Los Angeles. LA minus 125, plus 105, really short the other way on Edmonton on the road. Total is 5.5, juice to the over minus 130. Just what do you think of the matchup tonight?
Yeah, I couldn't find a bet that made a lot of sense in this one. And part of the problem is game 1 kind of didn't make a lot of sense to me. It did for a while when the Kings were dominating. And I've got the Kings played to win this series. I just felt like with the Oilers and all their injury problems, I think the Kings, it's their time to finally beat them. And you watch that game, and through 2 periods, you're like, yeah, this is kind of what I thought. And then McDavid ran wild and played one of the best third periods I've ever seen a guy play. Unfortunately, a losing effort for them. They still lost the game, but it was it was enough of a push from the Oilers to give me a pause on game 2 and just like, let's watch this game. Was that kind of a flukish comeback? And does LA kind of dominate the game flow and win a 2-1, 3-1 type game? Or do we get another high scoring game? And this time it goes Edmonton's way. I think that's the big thing to watch from this one. So I'm just going to watch and see what happens. Root for the Kings because I've got them in the series. The Kings don't need to be involved in another 6-5 game. That's not their style. They're not going to win the series if it's that up and down. They need to get back to more, like I said, 2-1, 3-2, 3-1, something like that. So that's what I'm watching for tonight. I think the Kings will win, but I do not have a bet on it.
Yeah, the Kings were like a team. If you bet them during the regular season, Dustin, I was all over the regular season in NHL. Is that another goal from my freaking Caps? Yep. Let's go. You got in-game, peeps.
Nice.
1 Caps, 1-0 lead into the second. They just Stromer, who just signed an extension, Dylan Strome, Dustin knows, started his career, I believe, with Chicago, went to Phoenix maybe, and now back with the Caps and just having a great year, a banner year.
By the way, we went from the Canadians literally 8 minutes ago laying a number. They're now plus 310.
Yeah.
Just in the
well, this is your opportunity. If you're a Hab believer, this is your opportunity to get involved. Hey, the Kings were a team, as you know. You always were betting into a 5.5 number. When you see 6s, 6.5s on totals, the Kings are a defensive team. I will say, I told Dustin this earlier, I actually thought the $1.25 was a little short. These are 2 teams going in completely opposite directions, the Kings and the Oilers right now, Aaron.
Yeah, the only thing, like I said, that gave me pause is McDavid kind of took the game over, and I didn't think he would be able to do that to that extent like he did in game 1. And so, listen, we saw him last year. He got on some kind of just crazy run. Like that thing was over. Talk about the Stanley Cup Finals, and he took over for a couple games and kind of got them back in it. So that's why I paused. But I'm with you. If you're going to bet the game, if you're asking me, hey, what side are you on? The Kings. I think the Kings win the game.
We got 4 games tomorrow, including the Battle of Ontario. I just found out Ottawa's in Ontario, Aaron. Had no idea. Didn't know what province it was in to begin with.
Big guy, isn't it the capital of Canada?
I think so.
Ottawa.
Toronto's not?
No.
Toronto is not.
That's confusing. Well, it's kind of like New York. Albany's the capital, but New York City is the city that matters. So
or like California, Sacramento.
Sacramento. dicey situation. California has a lot of great options. It chose Sacramento. Weird move. Anyway, Battle of Ontario tomorrow. We shift to Ottawa, which is apparently the capital. Minus 115 on the Sens, minus 105 on the Maple Leafs. Total 5.5, where it's juiced minus 120 to the over. What are we doing there?
I took the Senators in this game, and I'm just going to play the money line. I'm not going to go, I'm not going to lay a goal and a half. But I'm going to take the Senators in this spot. The first two games of this series, they've kind of dominated the play, and Stolarz has just been amazing in goal for the Maple Leafs, and especially game two. He saved them because the Senators were just all over them in game two. This thing pivots back to Ottawa. I think Ottawa gets it done. I think they should be a bigger favorite than this. And like I said, yes, they're down 2-0. Yes, they had a chance to win game two and they just couldn't quite get it done. But you watch the series and you're like, yeah, Ottawa is kind of controlling this play. That usually tends to come around to the team controlling the play gets a couple of wins. They're just a bounce or two away or one big save away that maybe wouldn't have happened. And this is 1-1. So I've got confidence in Ottawa. They really, really have gotten a ton of shots on goal in this series. So I think a couple go in tomorrow. Give me Ottawa tomorrow to make it a 2-1 series.
Big Guy, you got a halftime number with Boston and Orlando. It's just a 3-point game with the Celtics leading 50-47. You have a halftime side in total there because I'm looking.
Yeah, pulling it up right now. Halftime, we have Boston laying 5.5 in the second half, total 94.5.
Okay. Watch me lay that 5.5 like a dog.
No, they're going to run away with it. The Magic can't shoot. They're 3 of 13 from 3. Boston has such an advantage beyond the arc. They're going to keep shooting. They're going to cover that number.
Okay, take it easy. Just saying. By the way, I do believe what you said about the Sens. Toronto scored the first 2 goals early last night at home, and then the Senators outplayed them the rest of the way.
Yep.
And then obviously Toronto picked up the winner in overtime, but that's a crapshoot. I thought the Senators were the better team moving on. Tomorrow night, Golden Knights looking for a bounce back. That series tied at 1s. That heads to Minnesota. What are you doing with this one?
Yeah, I laid the goal and a half with Vegas and got a big prize, plus 185 right now. And look, to me, yeah, it's all about the bounce back. If they would have gotten beat in a game, in game 2 there, where you look and you go, boy, they got outplayed, and they just got beat, I would not back them. But you look at this and go, Shea Theodore, one of the best defensemen in the league, try not to turn the puck over 5 times and just do 0 times like you do 99% of the games. Vegas probably would have won. I hate to pin it on one player, but that's kind of what happened. He was awful in that game amongst a few other their defensemen. So they're correctable problems. It looked like a lack of focus to me. I think they bounce back. I think everything's right with the family team. I expect a great game from them tomorrow. If they don't, then we'll start to maybe panic a little bit, but I expect them to play really well.
Okay, well, VGK is the VSiN Live family team, but the Halterman family team is the St. Louis Blues. They also play tomorrow. They're even money at home, hosting the Jets, who are laying 120 on the road, total 5.5. Majorly juiced to the under at minus 155. How are you going to play your boys tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Blues on the money line. They're even money right now. I think that's a good enough price. So here's my theory on the series. If you guys haven't watched it, the games have been super tight. The Blues have been in it. They've had a chance. They were leading going into the third period of game 1, and they just got pushed around and got dominated. Game 2, their own team scored twice on them. The Blues scored all 3 goals in that game. Unfortunately, 2 of them went into our own net. So I think what you saw was some young guys that I was worried about to begin with, some young guys that just weren't, they're trying to adjust to playoff hockey. They just weren't quite ready for what happened, and they had to go on the road, and it's been tough. You come back home, I think our younger players will play better. They're going to have to because they're in such important positions for us. They're going to play a little bit better. And I think the big key here is when you're at home, you get the last change, and so you get the matchups you want. The Jets have to put their players out on the ice first, and then the Blues can put who they want to match up. I think that will help a team like St. Louis immensely, that are kind of like, boy, we need to really get our veterans out there, our good defensive players, when the top line from Winnipeg goes out there. They haven't been able to do that in the first 2 games, and the top line has run rampant on the Blues. I think the Blues will be able to stop the top line of Winnipeg a lot better in St. Louis, and I think they can flip the game. I don't know if they're going to be able to win game 3 and 4, but I see a huge push from the Blues in game 3 to get that win and to at least make a series of it. And they're the underdog. I really don't think they should be. I think it's pretty much a toss-up game. So give me the Blues. I think they'll play a much better game 3.
All right, Aaron Halterman, of course, we were talking about the horse racing earlier. Do us a favor. Let us know, as you mentioned, what are we, 10 days out, boys? Kentucky Derby? Something like that? So cool. I'll just set it up this way. We know it's going to be an exciting race because there's a lot of good horses. Has anything changed since last week? You guys are going to do your show on Friday, but just curious, anything changed as far as the Kentucky Derby right now?
Yeah, the big thing that keeps changing is the pace of the race begins to shape up as being pretty fast up front. And what that really means is there's 4, 5, 6 horses now in the race that really want to run fast early. And that usually what that does is 9 times out of 10 anyway, they get tired. The horses up front get tired because they're going way too fast early, and the closers have a huge advantage in the race. And so that is what keeps developing into something that looks like it's very likely. We had a horse that was not in the race that all of a sudden decided he wanted to run, and he's got a lot of speed. So Owen Almighty is who I'm talking about. So that speed things up. And then the D. Wayne Lucas trainee, American Promise, went out and ran a 45 and change workout yesterday. That is blazing fast. So that kind of tells me he's going to be forwardly placed. And so really what a roundabout way of what I'm trying to say is horses like Journalism, Sandman, Sovereignty, Tistastic, keep those horses in mind. They're the ones that are going to benefit the most from this pace getting really, really hot. And so those are kind of I just laid out. That's the 4 I'm looking at right now before we draw the post positions, which will be Saturday coming up here. But those are the 4 right now that I think are going to get the setup and are good enough to make a big run. Those are the 4 horses I would back as of this moment.
Didn't hear Bob Baffert's name mentioned, though. A little disappointed.
No.
Does Baffert not have anyone special this year?
No, they fell apart. His horses his 2 horses I thought were going to be his best ran 4th and 5th in a 5-horse field in the Santa Anita Derby. So they're kind of out. He did have a horse go up and win in New York, Rodriguez. The problem is he's a horse that absolutely needs to be in front. And like I was just kind of saying, there's so many horses like that. I like Rodriguez as a horse, but I'm just afraid he's going to get burnt up early and not have enough left, when we get to the stretch. So I think Baffert at this point, his lowest odds horse is probably going to be like 15-1. So I don't know what kind of chance he has this year, really.
Big guy's got a soft spot for Bob B.
Very good to us. If you're good to us, I will always have your back, and I will always have Bob Baffert's back. He did nothing wrong.
Basically what you're saying, if you like Dustin, he likes you.
Facts.
Yep.
Facts. And if you don't like me, I'm going to work every single day to make you like me.
Oh, speaking of the big guy, did you want to chime in on the hotel controversy? Because I got in trouble. I'm in trouble for even bringing it up.
I would love to chime in. And, I would just say this. I'm not going to give you, you got a lot of flack, and maybe some was a little aggressive yesterday on the show, Dustin, but I will say you are making a mistake from experience. I can tell you are making a mistake. Here's the deal. And I don't remember the guest, Eric. I can't remember his last name.
Lindquist.
Yeah. Sorry. I apologize to him. He was a great guest, by the way. I was listening to him and then we got in on this, but, he said it best. If you were 25, I think it's the move. But I think at our age, because I'm in my 40s as well, I think the move, especially first time going, is to get that separation. I think it'll benefit everybody. I think it'll even benefit you. You're worried about the money, but I think there are benefits to not living with your parents for a week for you.
Yeah, I think you're all making really good points. I'm just still not going to do it. I think these are valid arguments. I think they all make a lot of sense. But I think to create less drama in my world, I need to I just need to go stay with my parents. I think it's way easier.
What? Explain that. Like,
he's not even playing around anymore. Now he's just saying
no, because I've been thinking about
when is therapy?
It was today.
Just go to her, give the scenario, say it was brought up on the show, people disagreed with me. Help me understand why I get mad. That's all you have to do.
I'm getting mad because you guys just keep telling me I'm wrong, and I believe I'm right.
Well, you're
You said
not
that
though.
you
That's
wanted
the
to-
thing.
Yeah, but you're not. You said you wanted to see your parents. Do you see them often when you're sleeping? Because that's when you'll be spending time at the hotel.
I know, but it's just one extra layer. It's one extra thing to do. It's one piece of it just doesn't make sense to me. They have a home. It has a million empty rooms for us to stay in. Why would I pay for a hotel?
No, you're right. Aaron's an idiot. I'm an idiot. Lindquist is an idiot. Samich is an idiot.
Yep.
You're the winner.
Yep.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I have a lot of expenses right now, and that is one more to add to
You
it.
told me yesterday money was not an issue. You said you could go to the
no,
hotel.
money, I can afford it. My point is I can afford it. I just don't want to.
Flex.
I don't want to pay for it.
This is
I'm
fucking
being
funny.
cheap. I'm being cheap.
Did you happen to run it by Heather Halterman, your wife, Aaron?
She was like, he needs to get a hotel for this this girl.
Here's what I'm going to say. I know we don't believe that girls go number 2. They do. She
They do.
doesn't want to do it at your parents' house. Enough said. Okay, get her a hotel so she can enjoy herself.
He said
Aaron
it
Hall.
best. Yeah, you just said it best. That's it right there.
But she definitely does because I've smelt it.
Okay, racingdudes.com. VSiN host at racing_dudes. Abs plus minus a goal and a half. Tomorrow, Sens, lay it. Golden Knights, lay the goal and a half. The Blues, even money. Halterman, great job. VSiN at the track. Road to the Kentucky Derby coming up this Friday, 2:15 East, 11:15 West. And then proper 10 days from now, Mad Dog Sports Radio, VSiN simulcast 4 to 7, Kentucky Derby, Samich and Halterman. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Shout out to Heather Halterman. We got to take a break because we're too late on our buddy Joe DeLera, who's going to join us from the Action Network talking NBA playoffs. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. We welcome you back. Thank you to Joe Dellera for his patience as we went a little long with Aaron Halterman. Joe Dellera, the Action Network NBA writer at Joe Dellera on Twitter. So we're going to talk the NBA postseason, but a cause for celebration because my man, I believe it was announced yesterday, just hit a 100-1 shot on Peyton Pritchard to win Sixth Man of the Year. Congratulations. Walk us through, before the season started, placing the bet on Pritchard.
Oh, thanks, man. No, it was a lot of fun. I remember I was recording Buckets with Matt Moore and Jim Turvey, and I was talking to them. We were going through some of our long shots for some of the awards, and I just said, like, Peyton Pritchard kind of makes sense. Boston's probably going to blow out a bunch of teams. He's going to get that run. They have the incredible social media team for Boston, that hype machine, and you're going to have Bill Simmons just talking about him forever. So it was kind of that whole just thought that he's going to get run. He's going to get the blowout minutes. And I figured they were pretty healthy last year for the most part. If anybody got hurt, he might see some extended run, or if players sat, whatever it was. And we did wind up seeing that throughout the course of the season. I think it went even a little bit better than I'd really thought. But at 100-1, I figured, why not? Let's just take a stab at that.
Yeah, I mean, he went wire to wire, basically. Didn't he become the favorite really early in the year? Malik Monk was the favorite coming into the year. Naz Reid, who I believe won it a year ago, was number 2. But you didn't even have to sweat this out that hard. You knew he was winning it for months. I guess the only concern would be that he's playing too well and he ends up starting too many games.
Yeah, I mean, at least with Boston, part of it was that they have a pretty set number of starters. So it was really, as long as somebody didn't get hurt forever, right, then that could have been a concern. But even this year, the whole thing was we want him to win Sixth Man. They purposefully, even when guys sat, like I think there were a couple games where Tatum and Brown both sat, and Pritchard came off the bench still. They wanted him to have as many bench minutes, as many bench points as possible. So it worked out really well. The only problem with him going wire to wire was I didn't get a chance to really add any more on him. He was just the favorite for so long.
Well, I'm not getting in your pockets for new bettors 100-1. Let's just say he randomly put $100 on Peyton Pritchard. That's 10 grand. So you can do a little math there, people. Congratulations on that. By the way, we were joking with Joe. He'll never hit another 100-1 bet. And he said, hold my beer, because a few years back when the Nats beat the Astros to win a World Series, he got them before the season started at 100-1 as well. Who is your next 100-1 shot?
Dude, I don't know, man. I'm going to have to come up with one. Maybe one of these futures with the, I love these, like the playoff series leader bets. So maybe somebody that's like a bomb on one of these rounds could definitely be fun.
You know what? I'm just realizing I'm going to lose one of those because I have Jason Tatum to be the leading scorer in this Celtics Magic series at plus 125, and he didn't play today. He didn't do a ton of scoring in game 1. You know what? Paulo Banchero might end up leading the series in scoring, which is kind of crazy to think about. They're up 10 right now, Boston on Orlando, Joe. Obviously, no one saw Orlando with a chance at upsetting them. But what are you seeing from Boston that you like right now, as they're able to kind of, whenever Orlando cuts it close, just extend their lead again?
I think it's important that they can win a game without Tatum, right? Because it's going to force everybody else to step up. I think it's going to force them to, run some real offense as well. You can't just default to the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown kind of two-man game and leave it at that. Granted, we didn't see that in game 1. Derek White just went crazy, but it does add like a level of complexity to their offense. I also think the concern with Boston, obviously, is Tatum literally does not miss games. So the fact that he's even sitting in a playoff game, I get that they don't really need him, I think, at all really this series. But at the same time, the fact that he's sitting is, I think, indicative of just how bad of an injury this maybe is. We'll have to see if he plays in game 3 or not. But if he doesn't, I'm going to be a little bit more concerned about their future prospects as they, are one of the title favorites.
Joe Dellera joining us here, VSiN Live. With all due respect, I'm going to skip Miami and Cleveland and get to the nightcap, and that is Houston and Golden State. So, boys, did this come down from 4.5 to 3.5?
I think so.
I'm seeing 4.
It got bet up at first. I think it opened at like 1.
Yeah, it did get bet up. I saw 4.5 earlier. It's now 3.5. how would you handicap this game? What's different besides hopefully Houston scoring a basket in game 2 than game 1?
I think they did have a couple things that they can maybe try to push the button on, right? I think the all big lineup was a little wonky, but they really didn't run a ton of post ups. I think that Jabari Smith would be a great type of player in this series where Golden State is really undersized. I get that Jabari can't really create his own shot that well, but I do think that you can set him up well enough to succeed in this series. The other thing is Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet at least plays enough defense that you can kind of survive if he's not scoring the basketball. Jalen Green has to score. If he doesn't score, he is a completely unplayable player in the series. So I'm curious to see because he was good in the regular season. He was good at initiating contact. He was good at getting to the basket. He was good at creating shots for himself and even to another degree for the rest of his teammates. If he can't get to the rack while generating contact and either drawing a foul or still finishing through that contact, he's going to have a lot of trouble here, and it's going to be very difficult for Houston. I think you really just have to look at it and say, do you think that Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green can both score like at a better clip than they did in game 1? It's hard to do worse than they did in game 1. So, even if a couple extra threes fall, they're probably looking to be in a lot better situation.
Some people coming into the series thought that Amen Thompson could be a Steph stopper because last time these two teams faced in April, they were able to hold Curry down to 3 points. You're looking at this now where Steph's coming off a 31-point night in game 1. What are you going to do with him from a prop perspective in game 2?
Yeah, so I bet over 29.5 points plus rebounds. I think we're at 30.5. I think there might even be a 31.5 popping in the market right now. I really like this prop either way. In his last 3 games with like clear postseason implications, the pseudo playoff game, obviously it went to overtime, but still played 38 minutes against the Clippers, 39 minutes in the play-in, and then 40 minutes in game 1. So they really need him on the floor. And part of why I like the combo prop for Curry is the Warriors, that is, they like to get Curry to get defensive rebounds and get out in transition, especially in the postseason. We've seen this already over these last couple of games. He's averaging 5.6 rebounds on 10 chances. Compare that to the whole season. He's had 4.5 and 7.1 chances. He just wasn't looking for those rebound opportunities. I think that this is important because they're able to get this younger Houston team in transition. It's not necessarily about going all the way to the rim and getting that type of look, but it's about getting them reeling. That defense doesn't get an opportunity to be set up. And that's when Curry can either find somebody else, like one of his teammates, start running some action with Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green, maybe even Brandon Pajemski. And it helps them because it keeps Houston on their heels. So it's something that the Warriors have done like really historically with Kerr, where Curry gets out, gets these rebounds, and then kickstarts the transition attempt. So I like combining it with the points and the rebounds. As good as Amen Thompson is, there were a couple clips of him. I think Curry hit like almost a logo 3 over him, and you just see Amen Thompson just throw his hands up in the air like, I can't believe he just made that.
If I forced you on a side tonight, it sounds like would you lay it with Houston, the 3.5?
I think I would. It would be I'd be a little nervous about it, but I also think that if Houston doesn't win this game, like they might just get swept. So this is a game where I think you're gonna have to pull out all the stops. Ime Udoka is gonna have to run some crazy game plan because this is about as close to a must-win game as you're gonna get when you really don't want to go down 0-2 at home and then have to go on the road to Golden State.
Tomorrow, let's speak it. Dustin, let me just do this because I actually spoke with my friend who hosts in New York City, and I said, what was the talking points coming out of game 2 with the Knicks falling to the Pistons? And he said, how is it possible? Everybody's calling to ask, how is it possible that Cat disappeared in the second half?
Yeah.
So that leads us to tomorrow, where the Knicks are going to be favored at Little Caesars Arena, where I can guarantee you it's going to be crazy over the Pistons. Knicks laying 1.5. Joe, what do you have here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Knicks fan, so I'm definitely a little bit biased here, but it did feel like Karl Anthony Towns just completely disappeared. You would think that Tibbs would try to, express that you need to get him the ball. He scored 10 points in the first half, nothing in the second half. And I think he's a clear mismatch for a lot of the Detroit players. When they put Tobias Harris on him in game 1, just crushed him. And then throughout the entire regular season, this has been the switch. Throughout the entire regular season, they had Jalen Duren really on him. I think that actually last game without Isaiah Stewart, it kind of, I think, messed with Cat a little bit. Paul Reed is a little bit of a faster player than Isaiah Stewart. I think a little bit less physical, but definitely faster. And I think that might have impacted Cat to a degree as well, at least on the offensive side of the ball. The other thing is the spacing gets a little bit wonky. And as much as I love Jalen Brunson, I think that there has to be a little bit more thought process in the way that the offense is spaced. You watch Brunson breaking down a defense, he's getting into the paint, and you just see players like nobody's spaced out on the perimeter. And then you see guys cutting into like where he's dribbling. So it's going to be a situation where New York needs to make a couple adjustments. But I would say that from Detroit's perspective, these younger players, these players with less playoff experience, you go home, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable in that first home game during the playoffs. So I'd be looking at some of their younger guys, like an Asar Thompson. He might be somebody that gets a little bit more comfortable. I think he was already kind of comfortable in New York, but maybe the shot actually starts falling for him in this game as well.
Joe, it felt like the series price when this came out was disrespectful to the Pistons, and it still feels like the adjustment isn't right. Knicks are minus 250. Detroit is plus 205. I mean, if we look at the games, the Pistons have dominated like 85% of the minutes played. The Knicks with a miraculous comeback in game one. They came back to make it a game in game two, ultimately fell. Would you think about taking the Pistons at around 2-1 right now to win this thing?
I mean, I think they were the right side to bet on anyway before the series, just based on the way the numbers were. If you looked at it, they were pricing New York almost in the same, like almost where they were pricing Oklahoma City, Boston, and Cleveland in those series. And Detroit is a much better team than those teams. So I do think that given the fact that Detroit flipped home court, if you want to get in on Detroit, now isn't a bad time to do so, knowing that they have 2 home games coming up and could really control the series before it goes back to New York.
The Joe Delera, the Action Network, joining us. The series that it was just been fascinating, and we've got a rejuvenated Kawhi. The Nuggets are at the Clippers tomorrow night here in Los Angeles. I think the Clipper about 5.5. The series tied at 1s. What's your take on the series overall as well?
This one has had me waffling. I've been going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. My biggest thing was, and my only bet on this series was over 5.5 games, just because I feel like it's going to be a war. You always just have to be concerned, I think, about Kawhi Leonard. Just he played that incredible game. That was one of the best games I've seen him play, and I don't even know how long. Can he replicate that? Does Los Angeles need him to replicate that in order to win another game? So I think those are some of the questions that I would have. On the flip side, they're going home. I think the Dome is going to be crazy, and they're going to have quite a bit of an advantage, I think, just from a home court perspective there. So I think this is going to be a close game. I don't really have a feeling on the side. I think that it's tough because I hate betting against Jokic. I think he's the best player in the world right now. And it's so hard to bet against him because he just pulls things completely out of his hat. So those are a couple of things that I'm looking for. I'm curious to see if the Nuggets can force Chris Dunn maybe off the court if he can't make a couple extra shots like he did in game one.
All right, I've come out of that series, Joe, really impressed with the Clippers. Even in the loss in game one, I thought they were awesome. I think the offense with Kawhi on the floor is just so different with that mid-range game and Harden be able to facilitate more. Would you say they are the best shot to knock off Oklahoma City in the West, or is there someone else you think could be the elixir for OKC?
That's a good question. I think that, yeah, maybe, because they almost feel like Oklahoma City. I think that they're not as deep, and I don't think they have as many players that are capable of playing like at that type of level, right? But I think there's a real argument that you could say in that series, Shea is the best player, but how far do you have to go down before you get to the next Oklahoma City player? Because I think that as good as Chet is, as good as Jalen Williams is, this particular series for Jalen Williams, I think, is a great matchup for him against Memphis. I don't necessarily know if I feel that same way against the Los Angeles Clippers, if he's going to have a Kawhi Leonard on him, for example. So I think that, and then you obviously have Zoo versus Chet and Hartenstein. So there is some sort of a matchup there. I think that LA could definitely cause them some problems. I also think that, Denver could just also cause them issues when you have a guy like Jokic, and as good as Chet and Hartenstein are, I don't know how they're going to really stop him either. So they've struggled because they have struggled against some centers throughout the course of the season. I think that LA is probably a little bit better composed from a personnel perspective to match up like in a 1-to-1 type of format against Oklahoma City. So I would have to go with LA out of those two teams.
Would you be shocked if the Thunder don't come out of the West?
Yeah, for sure. I think that they are one of the best teams I've seen in a long time. I mean, if you look at all their advanced metrics, they're a historically good team. And they do have some playoff experience. I think they were able to learn from last year. The biggest question is going to be, can J-Dub carry over what he's doing in this series against Memphis into a future series against probably a tougher opponent? And if he's able to do so, then they're going to be a team that can roll. They're super deep. They have a ton of different depth and versatility in all of their rotations, and they don't have to feel forced in the same way to play their guys 40 minutes a night, 44 or over 40 minutes a night, because the bench and the depth is so talented. And that's going to pay dividends, I think, as the playoffs progress, if they are rested. And then when you get to maybe the conference finals or the finals, and then all of a sudden you start seeing 40 to 45 minutes from Shea, J-Dub, Chet, that team is going to be dangerous with those guys getting that type of run.
All right, Joe. Next time we'll do it again during the playoffs. Next time you'll be wearing that Peyton Pritchard jersey, right?
I don't think I could ever buy a Celtics jersey.
Oh, not as a Knicks fan.
No.
No freaking way. I'm a Pistons fan, by the way, so we are battling. I boys, I think that one's going 7. I just do. I think
It feels like it.
It does feel like it. Joe Delara, the Action Network NBA writer, at Joe Delara on Twitter. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, thank you. Very good job from Joe. I do think that one is going 7. I just think it's going to be a freaking bad. I think they're going to split in Detroit, and we're just going to keep ping-ponging.
Yeah, I think there's two things that can be true out of this series. One, I love your Pistons. They're feisty. I love the way they play. They're awesome. It's great to see like a star in Cunningham like emerging in front of our eyes, coached up properly. But at the same time, I also want to add the Knicks stink. The Knicks are bad. They play no defense, and Mikal Bridges is one of the worst trades we're ever going to see. That not just missing the game winner the other night. He missed another wide open 3 right before that. He missed a wide open 3 in like the second or third possession of the game. The Knicks are not that good.
My, how the mighty have fallen.
That's your fault. You made me buy back in. I was out on the Knicks, and you're like, you know what? I think there's something.
Get back in on your team.
Excited.
Get back in. 888-623-3646. Continue with your calls. Update you on the games in progress. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
On Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
NFL Draft is almost here, coming up tomorrow, and every pick matters. And VSiN is breaking down all of it from a bettor's perspective, from draft odds to team needs and player breakdowns. You'll find more of our NFL draft analysis on the VSiN Watch app. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. Porzingis just took a freaking nasty elbow to the head, and he got opened up. He's going to need some stitches. I ended up laying that second half number of 5.5, so I need to cover, 8.5? The Celtics are up 11, but they're going to be missing Porzingis. There's no chance I can't imagine he's going to play. You saw
There's no point. I mean, every time the Magic cut this thing to like 5 or 6, Boston scores again. He's got 19 and 8 though, Porzingis, so he's been effective. Outside of Jaylen Brown, no one else is really doing much. So if they could stitch him up quickly, he may be back out there.
The Heat, good effort in Cleveland as the Cavs are up 18.
Good sport. Having a good time in the NBA playoffs. Great product, Adam Silver.
We are just about, 33 minutes away. Actually, a game I care about. Warriors.
I also like that it's starting while we're on the air. Like, we get to, like, sweat out the beginning and watch the game, watch the flow of things. And I think the numbers getting a little out of control, where I was going to ask you, do we just go Warriors money line? Screw the points.
Of course. But you're talking to a Steph truther. They're actually wiping the blood off Porzingis' head. They threw a huge bet. They must have just put one of those spider stitches, whatever you call them. You can do it, and he'll go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Some glue. It's like a glue.
Yeah, it's glue, and then they stitch him up after the game. So he's going to stay in the game. He's giving away to the crowd. He got freaking crushed.
He's got a big bandage in the middle of his forehead. It looks like Patrick from SpongeBob on his head right now. That's what the bandage looks like. He's still got blood all over his head, coming out like Bret the Hitman Hart.
Did Patrick from SpongeBob?
He's a starfish. He's a starfish, and the bandage is star shaped.
He got drilled.
No, it's the star shape of the bandage.
I feel you. All right. If you had a Patrick from SpongeBob on your bingo card, the big guy got you a winner there, 100-1. How about your boy Joe DeLero cashing 100-1 twice in his life?
Dude, that's the dream that I live for. I live for bet a little to win a lot. That is what we're going for here when it comes to futures bets. And he didn't even have to think twice about it all year. He didn't really have to hedge. There was no one else that made sense. That ticket was good from literally like November on.
We're going to head out to the Spritzer Palace. For those making bets behind the scenes, he is wearing a polo shirt. You can watch him at VSiN Live on YouTube. We're back. VSiN Live. It is Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. live betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
NBA playoffs heating up. You can check it all out on the VSiN Watch app and channel 158. Also, the NBA playoffs, of course, are here. You can check out all the action. SiriusXM NBA Radio channel 86 tonight. Coming up in just a half hour. Good game. Houston Rockets, Golden State Warriors. They collide in Houston, game 2. Don't miss a moment of the postseason action on channel 86. And remember, you can find all the games home and away calls at SiriusXM.com/sports. Okay, we welcome you back here, VSiN Live, Hour 3. Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Meagher. We've got Brandon producing back in New York City. Ryan Smith in Las Vegas on YouTube, youtube.com/VSiN Live. Give us a subscription there. If you're into betting the draft, betting anything, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll be hooked up there as well. Yeah, we were talking about, so our buddy Joe DeLera came on not too long ago, said he hit 100-1 on Peyton Pritchard, and then he also hit 100-1 on the Nats when they beat Houston that year. And our next guest, a professional handicapper, been doing it forever in Las Vegas, is Scott Spreitzer, Doc Sports, docsports.com for the videos and picks, at Scott Wins with 2 T's on Twitter. And we were reminiscing. He's been coming on for so long. His 100-1 ticket in his lifetime was back in the day, Louisville, Lamar Jackson, preseason 100-1 on him to win the Heisman, and it cashed, Mr. Spreitzer. Congratulations.
That was fun back then. That was, I think, my early years on your show, Patrick, on Mad Dog, and that was a fun one. We jumped on the Nationals when they won the World Series, but I didn't get them until they were around 25-1 that particular year. So hats off to your boy there, and you know, that 100-1 before the season began on the Nationals, that was a really, really nice play because, like I said, I had the luxury of seeing what the Nats had done throughout the course of the season. Seeing Patrick Corbin before he fell apart, although he's got the spider bite working for him now in his last couple of outings. But, you know, he had a fantastic season for Washington back then. And I can remember doing VSiN with Matt Humans and rooting on the Nats in the World Series as we were doing shows and hoping that they would come through, and they did. But that Lamar Jackson call, still my favorite call, obviously, in my lifetime of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge number, and he was so good that year at Louisville, and he came back again, you know, the year after. I'm just curious because, you know, I kind of have a reputation, Scott, for getting out of control with the futures. I've dialed it back some just because at the end of the year, you start doing the math, and you're just like, okay, I know I hit a 20-1 or 21 has a chance to hit, but if you do the math on all the other bets, like how much you really up, how much of your portfolio is on futures with each sport?
Preseason futures, very rare. I didn't have one this last college basketball season, for example. The year before I had Purdue. A lot of that had to do with that team coming back, Zach Edey, and they had lost to the 16 seed in the previous March Madness. So they got to the championship game, didn't get there. My prior preseason college basketball future was Virginia when they were coming back after having lost to a 16 seed in their previous March Madness. So I kind of look for that kind of stuff out of really good teams that are, you know, factored into the mix as far as being a Final Four contender, championship contender, and they're returning a lot from losing in that first round the year before. I do a lot of like mid-season college basketball futures. I had 4 or 5 college basketball futures that I made in January. So I'm not always getting those, you know, 80-1, 60-1, but I don't mind the 20 or 25-1 if they pay off. You know, like the Nats, getting them at 25-1. I wasn't complaining that I didn't get them earlier. It would have been nice, but I didn't see them winning the title before the season began. But that's most of my, I'm going to say 90% of my futures, and I don't have a ton, but 90% of my futures are usually around mid-season when I jump in and place that bet.
Scott, the Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets tonight in game 2. So this opened 1. It did get bet up all the way to 4.5 with Houston. Now we've seen a little pushback. It's 3.5, 4. A very low total, no surprise, 204.5. I don't know if you have a play here, but take me through your thought process and handicapping this one.
Yeah, I was doing the show last night, the VSiN show late night, and I was talking about the fact that now that it was down to 203.5, I like the over, which as you've seen, it's gone up. The last I saw it was like starting to eke out a 205.5 as it was starting to go back up. And I also played, I played a prop that we talked about last night, which was Alper and Shingun going over 20.5 points, which was minus $1.20 when we spoke about it on the air last night. I think there was a little bit of an overreaction on the total moving as much as it did, 10 points lower than it was in game one. Golden State had that huge second quarter in game one and then really kind of slowed the pace and got more deliberate, especially over the final 12 minutes or so. If that game would have been more like that NBA Cup in-game matchup where it was a 91-90 game between Houston and Golden State, then I would have thought a little bit more about that total being legit, being 10 points lower than it was in game one of this series. But again, I thought it was more of Golden State jumping out, slowing the pace down, getting more deliberate, taking some time off the play clock. As far as Houston also, they shot horribly. They had only 2 players show up for game one. They missed 23 out of 29 threes. They missed half their free throws, or almost. I think they were 11 for 20. So I did like the over, and Alper and Shingun was one of those couple of guys that showed up for the Rockets. And here's the thing, the reason I liked it, and I think I've heard other people talking about this, but very few, he was able to handle Draymond in game one. He had no problem with him. And the few minutes that he was defended by Looney, no problem with him. And the thing is he's not the guy, if he scores 25, 26, 27 points, that's going to put Houston over the top as far as winning the basketball game. So I don't think there's like a big defensive effort, in the locker room last night or yesterday afternoon by Steve Kerr going, boy, we've got to shut down Alper and Shingun or we're not going to win. So I think you get to see a lot of the same type of matchups that we saw with him in game one. So that was the prop play that I made.
Yeah, I'm on his rebounds and assists, Scott. I just think he's such a mismatch. They don't have much of a front court Golden State. So he should be a guy who should consistently feast in this series in some way. Curious to get your take on the game tomorrow. My Knicks, Patrick's Pistons. I don't know why I'm a little surprised by the number. I mean, it's the Knicks laying 1 on the road. When you look at the series, Scott, Detroit has dominated most of the action. They've been the better team on the floor. The Knicks don't look right to me. That totals 213.5. What do you make of the line in the matchup tomorrow, Knicks at Pistons?
The thing that worries me about Detroit is they've got into a funk in both games. They had the ultimate funk in game one where they got outscored, 21-0 at one point in the fourth quarter. But it took a huge advantage at the charity stripe in game two. A terrible fourth quarter from Karl Anthony Towns when he took no shots after attempting 11 through 3 quarters. And then don't forget that OG Anunoby, who he fizzled out in game two. He had the big game one, good game one, and then collapsed in game two. So they had 2 of their key players who were way off their game. And then you had the other side, Detroit being able to have that big advantage at the free throw line. I think it was 28-16 on made free throws. But the Pistons have as many turnovers as assists through the first 2 games. The team split at Detroit earlier this season during the regular season. And in one of those games, the Knicks forced Detroit into 22 turnovers. So I'm concerned about that. That seems to be a consistent theme with Detroit when they face the New York Knicks. Even though they beat them a few times in the regular season, they can have that tendency to turn it over when they face New York. And again, if not for things that were a little out of the norm, things happening that I just mentioned with Karl Anthony Towns, the free throws, and Anunoby, Detroit's probably down 2-0 right now. So I think adjustments get made. I really think that New York comes through in game 3.
As a Pistons fan, I tend to agree. I think they're going to split Detroit. So if New York bounces back with the zigzag tomorrow, that would make a ton of sense, laying just 1.5. I want to just quickly, because we've got 2 games yet to drop the puck tonight, the Stars and Avalanche. So Colorado's a big favorite at home. Yep. The Stars winning in overtime was just, obviously it saved the series. They were dogs at home to the Avs. I don't know, 6.5 as far as the goal total. I don't know if you have a play here, but tell me about this series.
I didn't play this game, but if I would, and this is what I was looking at, guys, I was actually thinking about laying the puck line with Colorado, which at the time that I was looking at it was around plus $1.35 to plus $1.45 in that neighborhood. Colorado dominated, obviously most of the first 2 games. And then Dallas was able to pick it up there in the third period, ended up winning the game in overtime, which becomes basically a 50-50 proposition. So I don't like, they finally broke that long losing streak. What was it, 8 or 9 games? But they did it in a 50-50 situation once they got to overtime. The Stars have only won 5 of the last 12 on the road. and they lost a lot of those games by more than one goal. So I think if you like the Avs in this game, you go ahead and lay that puck and a half and get a real nice price with them.
What about the late game tonight? 10-10 on the East Coast, 7-10 out here in the West. Kings favored at home, up 1-0 in the series, -122, +102 the other way on the Oilers, and that total is juiced -130 at over 5.5. What do you think of Oilers and Kings?
Yeah, guys, I didn't make a play on the side or total, but I did play Connor McDavid over 1.5 points in this game. And once again, it was plus money on that over 1.5. He's got like 13 or 14 points in his last 5 games that he's played in. And I think he's going to be able to do enough in this, whether it be assist or goals or the combination, to get at least 2 points. So that's what I jumped on in this game. I had really no real feel after handicapping game 2 tonight in LA on what I wanted to do as far as the over-under is concerned. So, I mean, as far as the side or total was concerned. So I just jumped on McDavid over 1.5 points. And it, again, got about plus $1.20. I don't know if it's still there as we speak, though.
Tomorrow night on the ice, Scott Sprites are joining us, Doc Sports, docsports.com. Of course, professional handicapper for many, many years on the program, good friend of ours. Tomorrow night, 2 teams in particular are in line for a big-time bounce back after getting embarrassed. I thought the Lightning were atrocious, but let's focus on the Golden Knights. That was kind of shocking. I think VGK was like -250 in the game, and Minnesota just came out goal after goal to start. Do you expect a bounce back in Minnesota tomorrow?
I do. I listened to Bruce Cassidy. It was either last night or this morning talking about what they did is very fixable, and he's absolutely right. I'm in complete agreement. They played like the first 6 minutes. They were on fire, Vegas. There were a couple of big stops made between the pipes by Minnesota. And then all of a sudden, it was like Vegas had no energy. I was texting back and forth because I was glued to that game. I had no action in the game, but I'm a huge VGK fan. So I'm watching it as a fan, but I'm also like taking notes for a possible handicap of game 3. And all I kept saying was, man, they're standing around. My gosh. And turnovers. I mean, bad passes all game long. And you never felt, even though when they cut it to 4-2, you never felt that Vegas had a chance to really get back in the game and challenge Minnesota over the final 10 or 12 minutes, even when they cut it to a 2-goal lead. But it was all Vegas for about 6 minutes. And then from about the midway point of the first period, they just went flat. And every pass looked like they was so sloppy for at least the first period. And I was just shocked at the amount of turnovers. I thought it was a flat effort. I'm surprised that a team like that could come out and play as badly as they did. So I don't want to take away too much credit from the Wild, but at the same time, that was at least 70% of that loss was on Vegas playing a very sloppy game. I think maybe Mark Stone, as far as his props are concerned, like looking it up here to see what it is now. Mark Stone over 0.5 points, -$1.20. I think you're going to see a big game out of Mark Stone, and he gets at least 1 point in that game.
How about the Battle of Ontario tomorrow, where Toronto's on the road, but they're up 2-0, and you've got Ottawa favored, laying 115, -105 on the Maple Leafs the other way. Do you think this is a spot where Ottawa gets right back at home, friendly confines, and wins a game?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it's going to be sweep time or get up 3-0 as far as Toronto is concerned. I mean, they've had obviously the terrific season. The second game was, again, it goes to overtime. It's 50-50. We did see Ottawa outplay them for a good chunk of that game, the first 2 periods. They outshot them like 23-10 through the first 2 periods. And then all of a sudden, they kind of went into a shell in the third period, and they end up losing the game in overtime. And the thing was, it was almost like they started getting kind of defensive rather than attacking in that third period. I think that changes tonight. It's going to have to, not tonight, but tomorrow night. And I do like Ottawa to bounce back and get that win. But again, it was like on ice domination. They just couldn't find the back of the net enough to pull away. Toronto gets the third period goal and beats them in OT. I think Ottawa rebounds.
Let's quickly jump back to the NBA because I didn't ask you about the Nuggets and Clippers. That is, for a first-round series, we're getting our money's worth there, Scott. It's tied up at 1, comes to L.A. tomorrow night. The Clippers laying 5.5. Do you have a take on the Nuggets Clippers thus far?
Yeah, he had the Clippers in the first two games, so I was very happy about that, especially that first game where we got a nice cover there. I was only getting 2.5, so they lose by 2 in OT. Probably should have won the game in regulation, but did not. So they end up covering for us though, and then we had him in game two. Listen, I think a big game out of Jokic is coming in this game. He was not his normal self in game two. He committed 7 turnovers. That's more than twice his average over the course of the regular season, just over 3 turnovers per game out of the big guy. He also made only 6 of 10 free throws. This is a guy who hits 80% of his free throws, and he's a 58% shooter from the floor, but made only 8 of 16 shots. I think you're going to see a huge game out of Jokic. All of those numbers are going to improve, in my opinion, on Thursday. And his points, assist, rebounds combo is 47.5 on Thursday, about 7 below, 6 or 7 below his season average. And after an off game or a weakish game from Jokic, relatively speaking, I think 47 is low. I think that's not bad if you want to, go ahead and lay that $1.15 on his points, assist, rebounds of over 47.5. I also like Denver plus the points here. I've been talking about the Clippers as being a sleeper for a while now, but I think at 5.5 in that neighborhood, the Nuggets are the way to go. My favorite play out of that game, though, is Jokic over 47.5 PAR.
Love it. Love it. The draft tomorrow, Scott. I mean, you'd be a good person to talk about this because it feels like when the draft first started being something that we all bet on, there was money to be made. Mm-hmm. There were opportunities to take some risks at some big numbers, especially if you got in early and the market adjusted. But now it seems these sports books are a little bit hesitant to put things out there, and they've made it a little bit difficult for people to attack bad numbers. When you look at the evolution of the NFL draft from a betting perspective, what do you see over the years?
I can remember doing shows at the Westgate without betting, with no chance to bet on the NFL draft. And that wasn't just a knock against the Westgate. That was obviously everywhere in Nevada. Then we saw where you couldn't, I think when they first started taking bets, you couldn't bet that night for the next day, if I remember right. And so it just got kind of weird like that, where you couldn't always bet on the NFL draft. But you're right. There's not a whole lot out there that's juicy right now at this point to be able to bet. I think it's a trade down draft, isn't it, guys? I mean, this is a weak draft compared to last year's, obviously. I'm not stating anything unusual by saying that, but it really is a trade down draft. And I look at mock drafts and I'm like going, man, I hope you guys can hit at least 5 out of the first 30. When I see guys making mock drafts, it's going to be tough. I think there's spots to bet. I like Washington 10-1 last check, which was yesterday, 10-1 to go with the running back in the opening round with that 29th pick. By the way, their lowest pick in many, many years, I think it's 23 years I saw somewhere since they've picked this low in the first round. There's been people that have been talking a little bit about maybe Maxwell Hairston drops to Washington. He's a corner. But we've also heard Kenneth Grant's name bounce around a little bit out of Michigan. But their 3 running backs, I don't believe any one of these 3 for Washington is under contract next year. And so that means they might want to rebuild a little bit here. Some people thought Hampton out of Carolina. I think he goes earlier. Guys, I got 2 plays and 2 bets based on 1 draft pick. I think Travion Henderson out of Ohio State is extremely underrated. He's minus 120 to go in the first round. I like that. I bet that. And I think Washington's going to go after Travion Henderson. I think he'll still be around, and that would take care of the 10-1. So my biggest hope of this draft is that not only Henderson goes in that opening round, but he goes to Washington. I get the 10-1. I get the minus $1.20 on 1 draft pick. I like this kid, Travion Henderson, guys. He can bust out of the backfield like that. And then also he's got that explosiveness to get away from people. So I think they go running back. And I'm hoping again that Travion Henderson's the guy.
We know 2 tight ends are going to go in the first round. You have the big kid out of Penn State, Tyler Warren, going top 10 at minus 170.
I do. And, it's one of those things. I'm kind of like with the UFC where if I'm going to bet, I don't mind laying a price. This is one of those. There was a lot of talk on Wednesday during the day that the Rams want a tight end and might be making a trade for a top 10 draft pick. And they were talking about maybe with the New York Jets from things that I heard earlier on Wednesday, that would move them all the way up to 7th. As far as Warren's concerned, he's really moved up. And I like the fact that multiple teams, more than one, other than the Rams in the top 10 are interested in him. And by the way, guys, I'm looking at the Rams next year and already going to plunk down 11-1 to win the division. 11-1 to win the conference and plus 170 to win the division. You're going to have, if they get Tyler Warren, not only Warren, but look at that wide receiving core. Remember how unhealthy they were at the start of last year. They go 1-4, then they go 9-3 when everybody counted them out. And 6 of their 7 losses on the season were by 1 score. They lost to eventual champion Philadelphia in the divisional round by 6 points. They outgained Philly 402 to 350. So I'm hoping they get Warren, because that will solidify, at least in my mind for now, the bet at 11-1 to win the conference on the Rams.
22-1 to win the Super Bowl. Also, I think if they get Tyler Warren, we've seen rookie tight ends like Brock Bowers immediately burst on the scene. Matthew Stafford, 35-1 MVP next year. That feels like a fun number to play around with. How about the Ole Miss corner Trey Amos?
I like him
to go in the first round. What do you think about him this year?
Yeah, I like him to get drafted here. And I think he was plus $1.30 on Wednesday morning at last check. But I've got 4 corners going in the first 16 picks. I have Amos as the 4th best corner in the draft. And while it sounds like he won't be one of those first 4 taking, still gives us like 15 spots. If I get what I want by at least 4 corners going in the first 16, I got another 15 spots where this guy can get drafted. And there's a whole lot of need out there from some of these teams in the second half of the first round who need some defensive secondary help. I mean, if Washington doesn't go running back, I think they go corner. Don't know if Amos will be there. I think he will be late. I think the best chance for Amos to get drafted is the Bills, which means this will be a little stressful. You got to wait until the 30th pick, but I think there's a good chance he ends up with the Buffalo Bills at plus $1.30. I think it's a decent bet that he lands in the first round.
I'd be curious just to hear what you think about Shedeur Sanders. We know Cam Ward's going to go 1 overall, but the conversation around Shedeur is wild. His draft positioning keeps on dropping. Are you hearing anything? Do you have an opinion on Sanders?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard it earlier today, but an anonymous source, as they say, an assistant coach in the league, said that his interview with Shedeur Sanders was the worst interview he's ever held, a formal interview with a potential draft pick. Talked about his arrogance, cockiness. He wants to be the guy calling the shots for the team, and he hasn't even played an NFL down yet. And I think that's what's hurting him. It's been his attitude, and most people feel that way over his skill. He's not a guy who's going to take off and run a lot, which, he's not the most mobile guy. But guys, man, I mean, last November, a lot of us were talking about this guy going 1 or 2. So I don't know that he's going to drop out of the first round, although he's, getting a lot of that, this guy says one thing about an interview, that guy says one thing about an interview. I would still think that he probably goes around 21st to Pittsburgh. It was either last night or this morning where I heard Shedeur praising the Steelers' offensive weaponry. So maybe that's kind of a hint. I don't think he drops out of the first round, guys. But again, and I keep thinking back to like mid-November when we all thought this guy was a top 5 pick. And he had a horrible offensive line playing in front of him, and he created a lot of what Colorado did. I know his record against winning teams is shaky. That's not on his shoulders as far as I'm concerned. That was a bad football program when Deion arrived. So I think he goes first round still. I'm going to guess 21st to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's the spot. We all expect them to do something at quarterback. Free agency too. Patrick asked at the beginning of the show, with Kirk Cousins maybe being available, who'd you rather have next year? If you're the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins, what would Scott Spritzer do?
I wouldn't even have to think twice. I want Kirk Cousins. I don't even have to think twice. Give me Kirk Cousins. I don't need a head case. Aaron Rodgers, speaking of him, his draft spot dropped because of his interviews when he was coming out of college.
Yeah.
Much like Shedeur Sanders, Rodgers just kept dropping because people thought he was a head case, and he's kind of turned out to be a little bit. But boy, Kirk Cousins, no doubt about it. If I had to pick from one of those two.
Totally. By the way, Shedeur Sanders has every reason to be cocky and ahead of himself. He just had his number retired at Colorado when he went 13-12.
That's right. Deservedly so. 13-12 or whatever he was.
When you go one game above 500 and your jersey's being retired, you probably have a false sense of self. That's all.
You could. And you've also got Deion as a father. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Deion. Give Deion credit. He did a good job coaching.
Oh, yeah. I like Deion. I like Deion. I got, hope he stays in college forever. I really do.
Okay, Scott. Appreciate it. Scott Spritzer, Doc Sports, DOCsports.com. Handicapper. Remember, it's postseason time. He's also betting baseball, so a lot to see over at Doc Sports with Scott. And check him out on Twitter. I saw he posted the plays today at Scott Wins with 2 T's. Scott, thanks for the time. Appreciate you.
Take care, guys. Good luck.
Okay, take care, Scott. Appreciate it. Let's see. Got a 9-point game with Boston leading, and Pritchard just got a bucket and one, so they're going to look to extend their big guy. The Cavs are up 13, end of 3. So the Heat trying to make it interesting, I guess.
Trying hard.
Yeah. The Caps are up 2-1 still. So that.
Hey.
What's that?
Good for you. Got that in game.
Oh, I need an insurance goal.
Yeah. Well, you'll get an empty netter.
Montreal, the Caps goaltender has been standing on his effing head. Montreal has had some really good opportunities, and Thompson has been awesome. No, you're good, Scott. Don't worry. Said he leave the room too fast. No. We expect you to get the hell out of Dodge. You want to hang out with these two dummies? No. There's no judgment.
It's a new world we live in where there is apparently Zoom etiquette. We're on Zoom right now. There is Zoom etiquette that people try to follow.
Zoom etiquette? I didn't know that.
No, I don't actually know. I'm just making it up. Basically, it's don't jerk off on camera. I think that's Zoom etiquette. Yeah, you probably shouldn't. I would also like to give myself credit. Scott is a longtime married man, and I withheld my urge to ask him about the hotel drama. I appreciate you as a friend keeping my blood pressure in check because, one, you know I'm not backing down from my stance, that I'm not going to get a hotel room when me and my girlfriend visit my family in July. Now, we do have a lot of time to deliberate. We also have a lot of time for her to leave me before then. And my guess is it might happen because you said you smelled her number 2 today. So if she gets if that gets back to her, that is not going to go well. I would point out it may have gotten back to her, and I don't think she's happy about that. That's on me. That's on me. Hand up. That one is definitely. Look, we were having fun. We were thinking about WDD. What did Dustin do? Because in a relationship and generally botching things, spilling coffee, not doing the dishes right, not making the bed correctly. You can quibble with those. You can't quibble with, I smelled my girlfriend's number 2. It's a stunning statement. Like, I've never heard anything like it in my life. I see your face. You're starting to realize that one is a little regretful. Yeah, no, it wasn't good. Look, as part of what did Dustin do, I've been keeping a tally of things, and there's plenty to go over. So maybe some retribution here where I can offer something similar that I did to her, that maybe she will take it easier on me when I talk to her later tonight about revealing that I did smell her number 2. So when I was staying with her in LA, even just hearing it, when I was staying with her in LA, she only has one bathroom, and she was in the shower, and I needed to get ready to get my day started as well. Wow. And all of a sudden, I hear her go, "What's that smell?" Oh, no. I thought I had one that wasn't going to smell, and it got by the goalie, and I trapped her in the shower in the steamy bathroom with one of my farts. Okay. All right. So I will admit one gross thing after admitting a grosser thing earlier. I don't know much. I'm begging you to prepare yourself for the conversation after the show. Because I know you're joking right now. That is going to be intense. No. I spent an hour with my therapist, Robin, today. I'm debating texting her. Are you available for a 7:30 emergency session? As much as I love you, like, she's going to be very upset, and she has every right to be. That's one of the wildest statements of all time. No, and here's a problem too. You know how I am. I need to know where the line is. Things just come out. In order for me to know where the line is, I need to cross it at some point, right? And she's been, if we're being fair about my girlfriend, she has been very lenient about where the line is when it comes to me and talking about things on the show. Correct. And I may have finally crossed the line here, so I just need to talk to her about it and go, I know where it is now. I will not go there again. That is off limits going forward. I apologize for my mistake. See, but you, as if your girlfriend's listening, I'll just say this. He never means any harm. He likes to titillate. He likes to shock. In his brain, it felt like, oh, this will land hard. Yes. And he literally, it's not offensive. Like, to him, it's just like, I'm just trying to get a zing in, and I know this one's going to
just absolutely pop. I'll put it this way. She will have a serious tone. Like,
no, yeah. This is a good, and by the
and
way,
rightfully.
yeah, no, I understand it. It's also a true statement. I do want to point that part out. It wasn't.
No. This is what, no. What are you doing? I was literally trying to dig you out. You doubled down?
I couldn't help myself. There was an opportunity. And that's a true statement as well. That it's a true statement.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I wish you the best and Godspeed after the program. I just go in with hat in hand and say, I think what you said is perfect. I've spent my lifetime crossing the line. I've never been happier. It's literally fortuitous and almost feels like destiny that I got to meet you. We have been having a wonderful time. I've been conditioned to cross the line, and I dragged you into it tonight.
Yes.
That was unfair. It's not going to happen. See, because here's what happened. You justified the show because now your brain will start thinking, should I go there? Should I go there? Because you went to the furthest place possible.
Yes.
You talked about excrement.
What I would say is I do think
about a woman's excrement.
I do. I mean, everyone does it. There's a book called Everybody Poops. I read it when I was 6, but I do think there is a way for me to make this up to her. I can take everything out of her hands and I can just book us a hotel when we visit my family in Atlanta.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair to the show. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the audience. You said yesterday she prefers stay with your parents.
She does. She does. We had a discussion about it.
So why would you, if she prefers stay with your parents, why would you do something she doesn't want to do? Which is
because I don't believe she really wants to, and she's just doing it for me.
Yeah, that 100%. I mean,
so I should do something for her.
No human wants to stay with their significant other's parents. It's never happened. It will never happen. It's almost as unconscionable as dating somebody for 6 months and saying, I smelled their poop.
I'm not saying anything. I'm leaving it alone.
Leave it alone, man. Leave it. I would just like to say out loud, he means no harm. He crossed the line. He's not going to go there again. When we come back, we'll get to your calls, and also 6:30 games about to get underway. Oh, another great save by Thompson. Caps lead 2-1, 4:17 to play. And we're also going to get to that running back conversation. Running back last 12 drafts drafted in the first round with Genty heating up. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
The only way to say this is we had a situation with Jacob. You know Jacob, the weirdo New York City great guy. We had a situation with Jacob saying something during the break where I saw Dustin's life leave his body through his eyes. Like, it was almost like you could see someone in real time coming to a realization. I've done everything wrong for 40 years.
Just devastation, dagger shot. Of all the people that I thought would side with me on this whole debate, whether I should get the hotel room or not when I bring my girlfriend back to Atlanta to visit my family, I thought Jacob was going to have my back. Jacob and I are very similar. He's just me like 10 years ago, saying and doing stupid things all the time. And I thought Jacob and I would be on the same page here because I'm immature for my age. And he basically said, grow up, Dustin, which was like it was a real shot in the nuts.
Jacob turned into a college professor. He was like straightening his side. He's like, may I ask what it is you're doing?
He had a pipe in his hand. He was wearing a turtleneck and a brown blazer, and he was lecturing.
He got done reading Nietzsche and was like, "You're not getting a hotel room? I find myself displeased with this information."
I'm shook. I'm pretty shook right now because of Jacob.
I'd go to church after the show. An exorcism is in order. Wow. Big guy's going through it. If you missed it, he mentions smelling his girlfriend's number 2. So that conversation is on the table.
Let's stop bringing it up, please.
I just want people love you, and they needed an update on where you stand. I need Montreal not to score with under a minute to play here. That's what I need. It's 2-1 Caps. I went in game when they were down 1-0. Montreal is cycling the puck, and here's a shot from close range. Denied. Did it get over the blue line? Clear the puck! And we've cleared the puck, people. 34 seconds to go. Here comes the Habs. Empty net. Game 2. Capitals on tired legs. The Habs press it into Caps territory. The Capitals get the puck, and they are unable to clear it as Montreal holds onto the puck. We've got a cleared puck, people, with 13 seconds to play. Is that going to be icing? They're calling off the icing. 10 seconds to play. The Caps, rock the red, are going nuts at Capitol Arena. Here comes a goal, empty netter. It's goal! 0.7 seconds to go. If you laid the goal at a half, you just covered with under a second to play.
Love to see it. Big win. Big in-game win there for you.
Yeah, love to see it. Oh, big guy.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm happy for you, but I'm still sad for me. I'm very happy for you, but I'm sad for me.
Bro, we mess around a lot, obviously. If you can't tell that I'm genuinely like nervous and
I know.
I'm not there is no shtick.
No, there are times I think you're more invested in my life than I'm invested in my own life.
There is no shtick. I'm worried for you.
It's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly.
But she's cool, so she'll get over it. You're just going to have to take a pummel.
Oh,
and I'm talking an absolute beat. Good thing you're not in L.A. You do it over speakerphone.
It's true.
Just be contrite. Don't do but I have some. Don't do that. Just be contrite.
I thought it would be funny.
What happens is you get prideful. And if you get prideful during this conversation, you will be single.
No, that's a fact. It's a fact. I got to admit when I'm wrong.
Which isn't
not
easy.
About the hotel thing, because I'm not wrong about that, but I will admit about this comment.
Right. Lucky girl. Let's go to Chicago and say, oh my gosh. Say hi to our buddy Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, what's going on? Happy hump day.
You too, brother. How you doing?
Doing well. I just want to say, Dustin's girlfriend did sort of get him back by, snapping a pic of him wearing leggings last weekend.
Can somebody fill me in on what Jeff? Here to
send it
explain
to you.
more, please.
Well, he's 40 years old and going hiking and wearing leggings like a 20-year-old.
I wear tights. I wear the tights when I work out.
Wait, what?
One, it helps with chafing. Two, it was hot enough where I didn't want to wear sweatpants, but you're on a hike, you don't want your legs to get dirty. It's what athletes wear.
Jeff, it's an unfortunate social media posting. Let's move on like nothing to see here. All right.
I just sent it to you.
Because he's an athlete. He wears them.
Yeah, he's an athlete. He's literally just a radio host that's close to 400 pounds. Well, I got the picture here.
Closer to 300.
Closer to 3. Pardon me. Oh, Jesus
So
Christ.
I want to get your thoughts. Big into the NHL. I love the playoffs.
Me too.
Aaron's picks tonight. Love them. Took some futures, but tonight's game, Avs game, Aaron's going, puck line 1.5. I have them on a parlay just to win. So thoughts on that game tonight?
Just to win on a parlay is tremendous. I don't think the Abs should have won game 2. They're back at home. The place is going to be going freaking nuts. I have a question for you because I feel like a square because I feel like the Kings number is short. The Kings and Oilers couldn't be going in opposite directions as to how they're playing, correct?
Oh, good. Samich, thank you. Series price. I love that first game.
Well, now it was a winner of 6-5. It's weird because the Kings, they're always set at 5.5. I believe the number set at 6 tonight, but I want to lay it. There's actual Kings fever.
I would take it. Yeah. They're so good at home. I mean,
they're so good at home.
I love it. I mean, I took them already, but yeah, I'm on the same page.
No, you got the Abs in a parlay. Has that game started, Dustin?
I do not see.
It's just about to start here. Let me just see.
Has not.
What else? Oh, I got pummeled last night, Jeff. I thought the Lightning were a good price. They got blown out. Now, I didn't bet VGK because you can't bet a number that big. Did you do anything last night with the hockey?
No, well, I have the Lightning, and I took Samich's play and a lot of people's play for the series price, and disappointing result last night. But I mean, I'm riding it. I think they can play well. They're a veteran team, so I'm still riding it. But yeah, the playoffs have been fantastic. I mean, great action. Capitals game, love the result.
We do. Thanks, Jeff. Good to talk to you. Think about what I'm just telling you, by the way. The Caps are up 2-1 for a period and a half. Many people laid the goal and a half with the Caps, expecting them to pummel Montreal's not great. The Caps scored with 0.7 seconds to go to win by 2. Cover the puck and a half.
Look, you got to remember if you won that one, the next time you lose a bad one. And if you lost that one, that's brutal. But yeah, that's one of those games where you're laying that puck and a half. 99.9% of the game, you're going, I don't know if we're going to get there.
Where is this freaking Heat game on this dumb site?
Well, I need Darius Garland to do something. We're at 24. There's 4.5 minutes to go. It's now a 2-point game. I need over 25.5 points and assists. He's currently at 24, and he has not been very involved the last few minutes.
Okay, donkey donk. We'll come back, finish up with your calls. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin. Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Do my eyes deceive me? Is it a 2-point game in Cleveland? Miami has made a 13-2 run, and it's 101-99 Cleveland on Miami. That's crazy. The Cavs were up 20.
The Cavs have scored 10 points in the fourth quarter with 3.5 to go. 10 points in the fourth quarter.
All right, so some action right now. 888-623-3646. We'll finish up with your calls here on VSiN Live, and we'll start with our buddy Duncan in Connecticut. What's up, Duncan?
Yo, what up, boys? All right, so some quick things, guys, regarding the Celtics, right? This was an important game, in my opinion. It was the first game without Tatum. I think that the team really needed to win this first one without Tatum to make that statement that we're more than just one dude. Everyone knows that he's the best player. We're more than just him. So I think this was a very important game. And regarding Kristaps Porzingis, the first ever player, I think, to drop 20 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals, and 5 stitches. It is
he got nailed.
Crazy.
He got beat up.
Oh man, that was a good one. But one I didn't get in yesterday, but I want to hear your thoughts possibly on the Patriots draft upcoming. Personally, I don't think that they can go wrong grabbing whatever they need, edge, offensive line, receiver. They can't go wrong. But personally, I think Tyler Warren's special, and I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Thanks, Duncan. What do you think the Patriots do it for? I think the Patriots are a trade possibility.
Yeah, I think they are. That's why I bet Genty to be the 4th pick also today, as well as the 3rd pick. Everyone and their mother has Will Campbell, the LSU tackle, mocked them. But when Will Campbell's arms were tested at the combine, there were questions about the length and that he's probably more of a guard. You really can't take a guard within the top 5. It's not really a smart move. So I don't know if Campbell's the play there. Maybe the tackle out of Missouri who tested off the charts athletically could be an option there. I could see them going Warren, though. I just don't know if you take a tight end, number 4 overall. Like, if you're drafting that high, it means your team is so far from winning. So you need to be taking a quarterback, you need to be taking an offensive lineman, or you need to be taking an edge rusher. That's what you need to be looking there. So I don't know if they go tight end in that spot.
The last time a guard, the donk with the Colts.
Yeah, Quentin Nelson, which he's awesome, but you got to take an offensive tackle.
You can literally just find a guard.
There are guards in free agency right now who will end up being starting on playoff teams, like just off the scrap heap.
It's like when the best offensive lineman for the Washington Commanders went down in the playoffs and literally didn't miss a beat. I mean, I'm not trying to say that the interior doesn't matter, but just go get some skill. You're a skillless team.
I think Genty for the Patriots is really interesting. Like,
I think Genty Genty's, because of the running backs last year, Genty's kind of changed my opinion. So, go get a guy that you're going to have for 12 years that's going to catch the ball and run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, look, for the most part, if you're drafting a running back, you'd like it to be the last piece that puts you over the top as a Super Bowl team. But if you're New England, you just need some playmakers on offense. They got no one with any dynamic playability there to help Drake May. A running back would help.
Here's our buddy Billy in Las Vegas on VSiN Live. Hi, Billy. Bella.
William.
Peace. People keep on jocking the tight ends. I don't know. All I know about Tyler Warren is he's massive.
Yeah, he's good, and he made Drew Aller look good, and Drew Aller stinks.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're getting – I don't know. Sorry, I'm watching this game. Houston up to an early 13-7 lead. Cleveland, who was just up 2 a minute ago, got a huge 3 from Mitchell. So now they're up 5.
Mitchell's got 30.
And Miami just missed a 3. So underway with Dallas and Colorado on the ice. We're about to get underway here in Los Angeles with the Kings hosting Edmonton. Final decision? I don't think the tights look that bad. Dustin, you can see Dustin's picture. at Dustin Swedelson, I guess, on Instagram.
Yeah, are you taking it easy on me because you feel bad about what's going to happen in the next few minutes?
It's all black. It's slimming.
Yeah.
But you did ask the question. It's like, what's so wrong with getting attention from people? What's so right about it?
I think there should be nothing attached to it. If you want to post something because it makes you feel good, you post it. If you don't, you don't.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Your cup is already full, though. Your cup is already full. And the toilet was full, apparently, so that's why you're in trouble. Close tabs before we get out of here.
Yeah, let's see. Lamar Jackson's Heisman, we talked about it with Scott Spreitzer. He had 4,920 yards of total offense. That's second in Heisman history behind Ty Detmer. 51 touchdowns running and passing. Tied in with Tim Tebow, third on the all-time Heisman chart. Let's see.
By the way, he did all that, and people were like, is he a quarterback?
Yeah, he should play tight. He should play safety. Good call, Bill Polian. Good call. I asked AI, should the 49ers pay Brock Purdy per our conversation in hour number 1? AI said yes, the 49ers should be prepared to pay Brock Purdy a significant contract extension, likely averaging over $50 million per year.
What? Let me ask. You asked, which one did you ask? I'll ask Grok.
I asked the one on Google.
Let me ask Grok.
Do you know which one stinks? ChatGPT's kind of shady.
Could the 49ers pay Brock Purdy a lot of money?
Yeah, should they? What's Grok saying? Typing?
Oh, they're doing a lot of gamble.
Yeah, too much lead in with the AI. Just give me the meat and potatoes. Give me what I asked for.
Give me an answer. I'm on the air. AI should know that, shouldn't they?
Should. They should. Let's see what else here. On this day in 1616, Bill Shakespeare was born. James Buchanan in 1791, and on this day in 1914,
literally one of the worst presidents of all time.
Yeah, that's what you tell me. And on this day in 1914, Wrigley Field hosted its first ever Major League Baseball game, and people still go to it today.
Grok is still talking to me. Grok, you got to go away. You're starting to freak me out. Okay, he was just talking about James Buchanan. All right. Good job by Brandon. Good job by
Ryan. Pray for me.
Everybody, seriously, if you care at all about the big guy, which I know you do, prayers up. Not a fun evening. We got draft coverage tomorrow at VSiN Live. It's Mad Dog Sports Radio. Woof!
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.